I don't think we ever seen him on a Turkish platform before now. It's cool to watch him try to speak Turkish. Dude, I fucked up. I couldn't. It was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing. I spoke to T24 and I started the interview Turkish and I was just like, I can't explain anything political to you in Turkish. I realized like for the last almost 18 years of my life, I've lived in the United States of America, and everything that I have done, everything that I have spoken about in the realm of political science, like I can't do it in Turkish. It's really fucked up. You are Greek, LARPing is Turk? No, it was just embarrassing, dude. It was embarrassing. I was so embarrassed. Yeah, I still have perfect command over the language. I just can't talk about technical things in Turkish. I cannot talk about technical things in Turkish at all. I can, I understand everything that people are saying. I speak perfectly fine. But if I'm going to talk about something highly specific, and respond and hold like a normal conversation, if I'm going to talk about like American politics, I can't do it in Turkish anymore. It's really fucked up. It made me sad. You've yapped yourself in the corner. I mean, it's crazy because like for the first 18 years of my life, I only spoke Turkish, right? My education is in Turkish primarily. It's my first language. And yet I can't do it. Are you controversial in Turkish media? Yes. Remember when I said there's a hog universality that exists in Turkey as well? A lot of my criticisms of the Turkish government, obviously there's plenty of fans of the Turkish government still who are not fond of me. There are some who will say I'm a FETÖ'cü, like a follower of Fethullah Gülen, the former CIA asset Muslim cleric that used to live in the Poconos that Enes Kanter is a follower of. It's like a cult. It's a CIA propped up cult that did a coup d'etat in Turkey, or failed to do a coup d'etat in Turkey. And it's weird because like obviously I hate them, and obviously I'm unbelievably critical of them. And yet a lot of Turks will call me a Fed because there are a lot of Turkish people that live in America or have like moved to America that are FETÖ'cü. So that's the problem. Did Turkey ever have a leftist government? No, Turkey's never had a leftist government. So there's some people who say that. So yeah, I do have haters in Turkey. I have a lot of haters in Turkey. But it's weird because regardless of our differences, there's still plenty of people who are like, well, that's a Turkish guy and he's doing it big in America, So there's like a sense of national pride. But yeah, there's a lot of dumbasses who will say that I'm like a part of the FETÖ cult, Fethullah Gülen cult, and they'll say I'm a Gülenist, which is really funny because like I'm the least religious Muslim Turk of all time. I talked about like I've given this interview a million times to American broadcasters, like, but my negative feelings about Recep Tayyip Erdogan and like the social repression and whatnot that I experienced when I was growing up is what caused me to be interested in politics. Is siyasi politics? Yeah. All the Turks are out today. God damn. My whole family reached out to me. This was a big deal in Turkey, it seems. A lot of people were excited. I didn't know T24 was popping like that. Abi dedi hemen her gün. Why did I see you at a Greek restaurant speaking perfect Greek last night? That's funny. This is so funny. I came to hear him speak Turkish, but I didn't understand. He can understand Turkish, but it's different parts of the brain to be speaking a language. Given that Turkish rolls off the tongue way differently than English, especially American, doesn't help him at all. Spoken but short because it needs some time to adjust, but he speaks very, very good Turkish and very correct pronunciation, somewhat Yankee way, the deep frog sound of the Yankee. Yeah, I started off speaking Turkish, but then very quickly realized like I can't do this. I have to I have to swap this to English because like I can't speak about politics in Turkish. Bu doğru yani. Ben sosyalist ve anti-emperyalist I'm already messing up. See? Commentator. I'm a political commentator.
Yorumcu.
Yorumcu. Anti-emperyalist yorumcuyum. Within the first minute, yeah, I just gave up. Because I was like, there's no way I can do this. I got shy. I speak Turkish at the end of it too, though. I speak Turkish at the end of it as well. As far as foreign policy, have made Turkey a more robust actor in the stage of the Middle East. And then at the end, there's a little bit more Turkish in the lightning round. You got to practice, old man. Anyway, yeah. Try saying more robust actor in Turkish. Reis büyük. The thing is, it's very like speaking in English about like political science is technical, and the language that you have to use is professional. And so when I'm what I'm used to, like I'm used to doing this for 8 hours a day for the last 8 years or so in English. So obviously when I do, don't you speak to your dad in Turkish? I do, but it gets tough. Plus, if he's not around, I'm not as trained on it, right? Look at all these monolinguoids judging you. I know. Yeah, I can talk casually in Turkish till the cows come home. I can't do it if it's something highly technical, highly specified, because my brain has been wired for the last, longer than a decade. I've been doing this professionally for 13 years, all in English. It's very difficult for me to. Was this a contentious interview? No. It's very difficult for me to just quickly swap back to Turkish and speak convincingly on highly specified, highly technical things. It's tough to explain to monolinguoids. But thank you for the 100 gifted. So you're saying you sound like Nick Shirley when you speak Turkish? No, not in casual conversations, but kind of like that. Bilingual here, first-gen immigrant. I'm the same with Greek. Your professional vocab is molded around where you went to university. Yeah. Anyway. Plus, I have to warm up too. Like if I was in Turkey for an extended period of time, then it would be easy to pick back up. It's because you get used to speaking about a certain topic in English. Same thing happens to me when I try to explain politics to Spanish speakers. Yeah. Anyway, Turkey is not all that different to both America and Israel in the sense that like left politics, like socialist politics is also quite controversial. I mean, it's a NATO country. It's expected. So it played a formative role in the Cold War as a missile base against the USSR. So not that crazy for you to jump to that conclusion. Abi tıbbi association ne alaka amına koyayım? Nereden bana guilt veriyorlar ki? There's also the language gap for a lot of Turks that don't speak English that well. They kind of understand it, but they don't understand when I criticize Erdogan. When I criticize Erdogan, I criticize him for being an American puppet, right? But a lot of Turks don't realize that's my criticism, so they probably make assumptions. They probably make assumptions about how I'm criticizing Erdogan. I can't come back to Turkey, so I must be FETÖ'cü. Gladio fucked Turkey hard from what I remember. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's an automatic assumption that if you are a leftist in the country, you're pro-Kurd and therefore you are terrorist.
Now to voters.
There's also that element as well. So like, it's a very nationalist country. There's very reactionary elements within it. There's even like a reactionary predisposition towards Arabs from the more liberal elements in Turkish society. So I lose out on many different avenues. There are Turks who are straight up socialist, but they're not a very big movement. Amerika'da yaşaman Türkçe konuşma seviyenin daha bok olması için This guy is very mad. This guy is very offended that I'm streaming for 8 hours a day. I should just stop streaming for 8 hours a day and read Turkish books instead. Peki abi. Amerika'daki mal. All right. Enough of this nonsense. Abi en azından seni Silivri'de ziyaret ederiz. Geliriz. Ziyaret edersiniz. Anyway. All right. Key primary races across the country. We are getting to American politics, folks. That's what we're doing.
Golden primaries across the nation. Our Jay O'Brien is in Washington with details on the most closely watched races. Good morning, Jay.
Michael, good morning to you. Voters in 4 states going to the polls tonight, but all eyes on that critical Senate race in Alaska that could help decide who controls Congress. Democrats hoping former Congresswoman Mary Peltola can flip that seat blue. She's a moderate who recently rejected an endorsement from Vice President Kamala Harris. For Republicans, it's a tale of two Dan Sullivans. The state's sitting GOP Senator Dan S. Sullivan is facing a primary challenge from Dan J. Sullivan. Both could wind up on the ballot in November because of the way Alaska's primaries work. President Trump has blamed trickery, in his words, on the part of Democrats for that, but state Democrats and Dan J. Sullivan deny any connection, Michael.
And Jay, a big primary day in Florida as well.
That's right. From the frozen tundra in Alaska to the Sunshine State, where Florida Republican Congressman Corey Mills is facing multiple primary challengers in a district that Democrats are hoping to flip this November. Mills is under investigation by the Justice Department, sources tell ABC News, although it's unclear the exact nature of that investigation. The House Ethics Committee has also opened a probe for what it calls alleged, quote, sexual misconduct and or dating violence. Mills has denied any wrongdoing. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who's popular with state Republicans, saying plainly he doesn't support Mills. Also in Florida, 10 Republicans are vying to replace Congressman Byron Donalds, who's running for governor. On that ballot are 2 former congressmen who resigned in scandal, 3 candidates who previously ran for Congress in other states like Illinois and New York, and a pardoned January 6th rioter. Meantime, in California, there's a special election tonight to fill the seat of former Congressman Eric Swalwell, who resigned from Congress and ended his run for governor.
Aisha Wahab is our gal in this race.
Remember, after accusations of sexual assault, which he denies. Michael.
All right, seems like an episode of...
Which Dan Sullivan are you rooting for? The teacher. I love his response. Because, so the Alaska race is really funny. You got 2 Dan Sullivans. One's the Republican. The other one's Mary Peltola, who's, running against the Republican. And then you have the other Dan Sullivan. And the Republicans tried to keep him off the ballot because they were like, this is electioneering. You're interfering in the election. And he had a very funny and, dare I say, cute response to it where he was just like, I'm sick and tired of my name. I'm sick and tired of this Dan Sullivan sullying my name with his associations to, ridiculous policies. And therefore, of course, he's still allowed to run. And it's kind of funny because, it's just, I'm sure it is going to dupe people. I'm sure that there are going to be people who vote for him by accident. And I wonder if that actually ends up changing the dynamic for Peltola. Right? So we got a lot going on. We got a lot of races. August 18th is going to have so many interesting matchups. Here's a thread. Oliver Larkin versus Jared Moskowitz in Florida 25. Obviously, this is a Trump +4 district. It was redistricted to make it more purple, make it more competitive. Elijah Manley versus Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is the one who's carpetbagging into this Black Opportunity District. That's what it's called. It's she is straight up in the most shameless way possible trying to come into this much safer blue district to maintain her position of prominence, maintain her seat as a old school party elite. She is despicable. She's awful. Obviously, we want Elijah Manley there, but unfortunately, there might be some vote splitting for the rest of this race. We got Aisha Wahab going up against Melissa Hernandez in California 14. This is obviously Eric Swalwell's seat. You have the Hitler versus Hitler matchup. You got Armenian Hitler versus fat Jewish Hitler. Dan Bilzerian versus Randy Fine. They pretty much agree on everything except Dan Bilzerian is anti-Semitic and Randy Fine is hateful to every other minority group except for Jews. Randy Fine also is, of course, pro-genocide, like openly pro-genocide. So that's a very interesting matchup. The establishment Democrats have, of course, the establishment Democrats have like kind of defended Randy Fine by attacking Dan Bilzerian out of nowhere yesterday in unison. I found that to be very strange. I found that to be very disgusting. It's like, you should just stay out of it. You know what I mean? You don't have to go out to bat. Oh, the Dan Bilzerian, the anti-Semitism demonstrated by Dan Bilzerian is unacceptable. Okay, what about the fucking Islamophobia by Randy Fine? I found that to be totally disgusting. I'll be honest with you. Like, Hakeem Jeffries coming out to defend Randy Fine basically by making it seem like he's a small bean, a victim of anti-Semitism is wild to me. It is very telling. It is very telling what the establishment of our party and the establishment of both parties care about. Yeah, I tweeted about this. I said, fuck Dan Bilzerian, but it's also funny that Randy Fine is basically Dan Bilzerian level hateful for Muslims, in parentheses, basically any minority but Jews. And all these civility fetishists in office simply do not care. Double standard is so vast, it makes Randy Fine look normal sized. Yeah, anti-Semitism is unacceptable. Islamophobia is not only acceptable, but welcomed, promoted, all that good stuff. Caruso allegedly has molested 2 generations of family members. Wait, what? As a Florida legislator, Mike Caruso supported death penalty for pedophiles in 2023. Now he has been arrested for allegedly molesting his grandson. The state plans to present the case to a grand jury that could lead to his own execution if he's charged and convicted under that law. What a fitting end. I mean, this is a classic example. I mean, this is not the first time this has happened. Anyway, we'll look at that later. Then you have James Fishback versus Byron Donalds. And that's another very interesting race because James Fishback is the Groyper candidate. He's got hella allegations, which I think in the state of Florida, especially on the Republican ticket, is favorable. It's very interesting. Like, Florida is one of those states where if you're a Republican and you're like outed as being a pedophile, more people want to vote for you for some reason. It's like a boost. Very strange stuff. Now, I don't think he's going to crack like 10%. However, I will say this. I find it very funny that the Groypers, led by Nick Fuentes, Hassan, the video against you looks real bad. What video against me now? What video now, chatter? What happened today? Anyway, decaf, decoy. I don't know. He's making points. What? Dog. What the hell are you talking about, man? I got the GOP coming after me. I got the entire Republican propaganda apparatus coming after me, and you're bringing up glorp shito. We've moved past that point, man. We've moved past that point. There is no more glorp shito. Okay, there's no more xylitol said this about you. Like, I'm over here not even fucking. I'm not even covering half of the Republican attacks, and you're like, no, dude, you have to see this guy. You have to see this guy. He really cooked you, buddy. He really cooked you, buddy. He cooked your ass.
We got to talk about
Oh my God. What is this? Oh, it's a guy attacking me for fucking saying I'm suing Scott Jennings.
dog shocker or the dog abuser.
Really, dude? This is the guy This is the guy you're getting your notes from? I can't tell you what I think you should do, but you should probably stop getting your notes from slop tubers. Okay? I can't deal with the people who are like, well, I get all my fucking politics from random groiper who's breaking 20K for the first time ever in his goddamn life because he made a video boosting his name recognition in the algorithm by attacking me. Hey, Hassan, did you notice the difference between this cycle of attacks and the previous one? No, it's the same shit. It's the same fucking attacks. It's the same attacks. It's all nonsense. Anyway. Yeah. We got M. Pregasus, okay? We got M. Pregasus, and that's the only one. Out of all the slop tubers, I have one favorite. His name is M. Pregasus. His name is more Pegaslop. Okay? He is keeping me, international commerce enjoyer, okay, international shipping magnate, from doing business with the glorious city-state of Singapore. Okay? This guy chirps about you a lot. What the fuck is this? Marco Rubio just found something huge.
Finally have consequences, as Secretary of State Marco Rubio is clamping down on communism in our country.
Is now investigating.
What country is this guy from? Is this guy even American? What? This guy is an Asman orbiter? Bro, there are so many fucking chuds like this. Dude, here's what I'm going to say, okay? There is an unbelievable market of chuds that exist on YouTube, TikTok, everywhere, okay? All they do is slop. They don't know a single damn thing about politics. They don't even understand American politics. All they do is sit around and get their notes from Twitter, the neo-Nazi hell site, and they just regurgitate whatever the fuck they're seeing on Twitter. And every single one of those videos reaches at least 250,000 every single time. Okay? We have to be a little bit more careful. We have to be a little bit better with our media diet. Okay? It's like dudes from Bhutan being like, let me tell you about American politics. And there are unironically a lot of American chuds that fall for the classic Ian Miles Chung style technique. Guy who's never stepped foot in the United States of America, who's constantly talking about American politics from a right-wing perspective. Okay? Yes, Bhutan mentioned. It's always some shit like that. It's like a Malaysian dude or a dude from Bhutan who's just like LARPing as a MAGA chud and nose diving into fucking slop. We can't be doing this. Anyway, Mr. Pegasus perfected the genre of person. Yes, he did. M. Pegasus perfected it. I just posted about the slop tour, but he's actively going around in Cuba. What? Bro, just please move past it. It's another Dan Stalkman psyop. XQC watch some slop video. There's like 14 threads. It's going to be tons of it today. You just have to ignore it. I just don't understand why people go, nah, dude, you got to address this. This one's really good. Dog, they talk about me. They talk about the same exact shit on Fox News every night. If that's not going to do me in, why the fuck would some random slop tuber that XQ Cow watched, why is that going to do it? You know, at some point, you just got to, if you want to know my perspective, you can come here. We can have a normal and honest conversation about it. It's not like I hide my opinion on shit. I talk about it all the time. Anyway, we're moving on. Because you give them attention, I usually don't. How much of it is financial incentive for these things, especially for global South nations to farm slop? What, you think like random dudes in Bangladesh genuinely want to keep the fucking West white? No, they set up those white supremacist accounts on purpose on Twitter because they need to farm like $35 in ad revenue. It's a big deal. If you live in Bangladesh, yeah, $35 American dollars in ad revenue goes a long fucking way. There are far worse jobs that you could be taking on, you know, delivering whatever the local version of Postmates is. So yeah, 90% of all neo-Nazi accounts on Twitter are dudes sitting in a fucking server room in India. Straight up. So many of those accounts do that. And then this is the more elevated version of that, right? Like there are different ways that you can make a killing adjusted to your local economy. Hassan, stop. Wait, what? I mean, this isn't, I'm not like, you know, shitting on people. I'm not knocking their grift. But yeah, a lot of people do this. A lot of people cover American politics from a right-wing perspective and hyper-focus on the drama and slop because they know it's going to get them attention. They don't have any like real political perspective. They're just doing it because they know dumb fuck Americans are going to watch it. And they make money. They make a lot of money doing it. 100%. It's completely inorganic, but ultimately there is a market for it, right? Sounds like you're giving bail for races. No, I'm not. I'm just explaining to you that the people that are pumping out this fucking content, the people that are pumping out this content don't have any real perspective on the matter, right? They don't. They're just doing. That's unreal, Cope. You always get these fucking losers attention every single time. Even some dude who's been following for 10 minutes, you always pull their ass up. Okay. Anyway, we're moving on. Last time I was in Bangladesh, I asked the most average lifestyle is about $50 a month USD. Yeah. There's varying degrees of this, but part of it is because the algorithm favors it, right? Part of it is because the algorithm actually boosts it. If we lived in like upside down world and Elon Musk purchased Twitter to make the algorithm favor, you know, socialism or whatever, those guys would be pumping out socialist content. They'd be doing Red Shambhala edits. They'd be talking about how awesome Lenin was and how, you know, Americans there are demonstrating counter-revolutionary behavior. They'd be farming Asmongold instead of me. You literally read one chatter. Guys, I'm now talking about something broader, okay? Shut the fuck up. Now you're literally, everything I say now, you're filtering through the lens of like, oh, he's talking about a slop tuber. I'm talking about something broader, okay? We can have a conversation about broader issues and how, you know, right-wing slop gets base boosted on the American algorithms owned by Zionist billionaires, okay? Can we have a normal conversation about that? Is that okay? Can I have a normal conversation as a 35-year-old political commentator who's been doing this for 13 fucking years? Or are you guys going to cry about it as though I'm like yelling about one specific random slop tuber or something in your minds? You're just locked in on that side of the conversation. We're having a broader conversation now. Has nothing to do with the motherfucking slop tubers. Okay? Jesus Christ. Anyway. Back to the races. What I find particularly funny about the James Fishback versus Byron Donalds race is the fact that all the Groypers love James Fishback because he's their guy, right? And also he has, I think he has like pedophilia allegations. Like he's done inappropriate things with minors, which is, again, you know, allegedly that's what he's done. But that's also favorable, I think, if you're a Republican in Florida. But what's really interesting to me is the fact that all of these, what is this, Ryan using you? Oh, hell yeah. So all of these guys, these Groypers, they love him, right? They love him. They're like, he's awesome. He's saying it like it is. He hates the Jews. He's like shitting on the Jews all the time. And what's really funny about it is, dog, he was a Barry Weiss fan. Like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he was a Barry Weiss fan. Now, of course, he might be Colombian. I don't know what he is. He's not white. That's for sure. But that obviously is perfectly normal for the Groyper movement. Like, you have to be not white. If you are a white supremacist in the United States of America in the year 2026, you're less likely to be white than if you are a part of the Democratic Socialists of America. Okay? But what I find strange is, like, these guys call everybody else feds, even though people call Nick Fuentes a fed, right? And what's strange about it is this guy is a fucking fed. Like, this guy is so clearly a grifter. You're like, oh, this is my guy. This is my goat. I love James Fishback. He's saying it like it is. He's talking about the Jews. And it's like, okay. He was a Barry Weiss fan like 2 years ago. What the fuck? Nothing rings alarm bells in your mind? Post October 7. Yes. He was hanging out with Barry Weiss. He was talking about how, like, Barry Weiss is combating anti-Semitism, and that's a really important thing for him. Anyway. He wrote an article about me and my time in college policy debate and how it's too woke. Oh, yeah, we saw this. We saw this poll. What else? Yeah, then there's Marielana Kinter versus Bill Dalton, Britt Robinson versus LaShonda Holloway, Angie Nixon versus Alex Vindman for Florida Senate. Why so uncharitable? Don't you always say people have the capacity to change? Come on, man. Come on, man. You went from fucking being a Barry Weiss acolyte to being a Free Palestine guy who's also anti-Jewish. Get the fuck out of here. Anti-Semitic. That reeks like a psyop to me. But again, listen, that's not my battle anyway. I don't give a shit. That's not my battle. You want to know why? Because both of these guys suck anyway. They're Republicans running in the Florida gubernatorial race. Yeah, he's anti-black as well, which is, you know, I mean, come on. More of the same. Marielana is track APAC endorsed. Nice. Okay, so then we got Aisha Wahab. Obviously, we talked about that. So there's some interesting races. There's some interesting races happening all around the country. In Alaska, you got Mary Peltola, who recently was endorsed by Kamala Harris, and then she rejected Kamala Harris's endorsement, which I thought was very funny. So yeah, interesting races all around. We're obviously going to be looking at all of them later in the day. Steve Kornacki, the khaki, will be live, I believe, at like 6:30, so 3:30 our time, maybe? Or what time is he live? Live, Kornacki analyzes the election in 3 hours. Yeah, 4 p.m. So he's going to be live 4 p.m. our time, and we'll tune in to see what he's talking about. But of course, the races that I'm most interested in are obviously the Democratic Socialist candidates in Florida who are trying to build off the national momentum for DSA. These are tough races. There are some DSA aligned candidates. There's DSA candidates. Elijah Manley was formerly in DSA. He's DSA aligned. He's been on this broadcast. And of course, Oliver Larkin is our boy.
Today in 3 states, including Florida, where there are a number of Democratic Socialists on the ballot. Nicole Killian is at a polling location in Florida, just outside Fort Lauderdale. Nicole, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Vlad. Well, Florida isn't exactly a hotbed of Democratic socialism, but there are a few candidates who are trying to build on national gains and hope to pull off a potential upset or two in this reliably red state.
Something has to change right now.
State Representative Angie Nixon is one of at least 2 Democratic socialists vying for federal office in Florida. She's seeking the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate against combat veteran and Trump impeachment whistleblower Alexander Vindman.
And I've seen corruption in Washington up close.
North of Miami,
this sounds an awful lot like a win on Tuesday!
DSA candidate Oliver Larkin is trying to unseat incumbent Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz.
He can say a lot of things, none of which are ever going to get accomplished.
Politics as they are today are broken.
27-year-old Elijah Manley says he isn't a Democratic socialist, but is one of the more progressive candidates in a crowded field in an historically black House district that was recently redrawn.
This is not just about black representation. This is about who's going to actually deliver for a community. We're seeing progressives across the country win, whether it's in Texas, whether it's in New York. And I think that progressive values and progressive wins are going to come to the South too.
So here's the reality, okay? What have we seen so far in our experience in all these different runs? When there's no national progressive endorsements and it's just us and the local DSA on the ground, it's always going to be a much tougher battle. Because the reality of the matter is the electability component is still a primary driver for a lot of Democratic primary voters. Name recognition also plays a major role. These are people who are seeking to unseat incumbents in districts that are considered unsafe. Well, not Elijah. Elijah is in a different race. Elijah is in a very safe district. It's a black opportunity district. It's like plus 20 Democrat. So that's a lock. Whoever wins that primary is winning automatically the general. Now, the problem is Debbie Wasserman Schultz is the establishment Democrat here. She's playing the incumbent advantage, even though she's carpetbagging into this district. And you know, the party straight up cleared the field for her. They didn't speak out against this. They didn't speak out against the Debbie Wasserman Schultz move. Can you imagine if a white socialist moved into a black opportunity district, a white socialist, a white DSA candidate was unseating like a black incumbent in a black opportunity district? Do you know the amount of DSA is basically the Klans, DSA is basically Klans members' news articles that would fucking take place? The national news would literally talk about it every day. They would say, DSA so white. DSA are basically the same as Groypers. Why are DSA candidates trying to eradicate black political representation? But of course, when it's Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's a white woman, who is a prominent DNC Hillary Rodham Clinton acolyte, nobody fucking talks about that. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares about black political representation all of a sudden because these people are charlatans. They don't give a fuck. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is, again, unbelievably reactionary on many issues. She's super pro-Israel. She played a formative role in the DNC to rat fuck Bernie Sanders in 2016. Yeah, DNC chair from 2011 to 2016. This would have been a fantastic opportunity to unseat and put a young progressive in this, young black progressive in this black opportunity district. But unfortunately, none of the national progressives leaned into this. None of the national progressives actually talked about it. Debbie Wasserman Schultz has a massive war chest. She also is a prominent establishment Democrat. So these are tough races. And then also on the other hand, you got Angie Nixon and Oliver Larkin, two DSA candidates. Angie Nixon running for Senate, Oliver Larkin running for Florida 20, a newly redistricted district that's like Trump plus 4. Jared Moskowitz, once again. Yet you keep shying away from pushing Manley. What are you talking about? I'm shying away from pushing Elijah Manley. I have promoted him pretty much every day. I've interviewed him. I've fundraised for him. He sat right next to me here. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? Sorry, Manley is 20. Larkin is 25. Apologies. Anyway, Larkin has a tougher battle. Wait, he's not 25 years old. I'm talking about their districts. I am talking about their fucking districts, man.
Not all voters are on board.
It's not very well received here, especially in the South Florida community.
The races are among several that have captured national attention in the Sunshine State. At the top of the ticket, a wide-open race for governor, where GOP frontrunner Byron Donalds wants to challenge the Democratic nominee this fall.
There's a reason people keep coming here, because they want common sense conservatism.
This morning.
Yeah, no, I think we're mentally deficient, like mentally stunted adults. I don't know what it is. Maybe all of our haters are right about us. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I can't. I definitely didn't start the day off on the best footing. It's not just my PC that's overheating. I think a lot of people's brains have overheated as well.
President Trump reaffirmed his support for Donalds on Truth Social, but another Trump-backed candidate is facing a tough primary challenge. Congressman Corey Mills is trying to defend his Orlando area seat amid a House ethics investigation for alleged sexual and financial misconduct. He's denied any wrongdoing. Gail.
All right. Thank you very much, Nicole.
So tomorrow's primary day in Florida. One of the races to watch is in the state's 20th congressional district. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz running here after Republicans redrew the congressional map.
Yeah, the problem here is Elijah Manley was the one that is the highest likely had the highest likelihood to unseat Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Okay, but none of the other candidates actually dropped out to consolidate support behind him. So there's a lot of vote splitting that's going to take place here. He still has the best chance, but it's unfortunate that I suspect that there was a little bit of engineering there where they just refused to drop out and back him. And now there's going to be some vote splitting. I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if it's establishment Democrats that wanted to coordinate it on purpose to make sure that Debbie Wasserman Schultz's chances were better overall. It's just very blackpilling. It's very frustrating. Dude, shut up. Enough.
She is seeking her 12th term in Congress. She is the former chair of the DNC, and my next guest hopes to unseat her. 27-year-old Elijah Manley joins me now. He is a self-described socialist. His positions include Medicare for all and abolishing ICE. Elijah, thank you very much for joining me today. It's good to have you.
Thank you for having me, Martha.
Thank you. I want to play this from earlier today. This is Rahm Emanuel, obviously a very prominent member of the Clinton administration and someone that some people think may seek higher office. Here's what he had to say about the DSA or socialist candidates running now.
The Democratic Socialists, 3 weeks ago in Chicago, they had a convention. Run on your own ticket. If you're confident people want it, we'll see you in November.
Why is this black district going to vote for her? She's the establishment pick. So she has relationships with a lot of community leaders. That plays a big role. Name recognition, machine politics. And also on the tail end, she doesn't have to win the majority. She just needs a plurality, because on the other side, you have 4 black candidates going up against one another. That's going to obviously split the rest of the votes that are going in favor of pushing for a black candidate. That's it. It's classic. It's a clear rat fucking operation.
If you think they want defunding the police, letting prisoners out, I'll see you in November on the ballot. And if you're confident that that's what people want, go for it.
So what do you say to him, Elijah?
I think Rahm Emanuel should just be quiet. I think right now we are a big tent party. We welcome the wide range of ideas and free speech that we have. I'm not for defunding the police, and I don't think anyone is running around saying defund the police. But I find it really strange that we have an individual in our party like Rahm Emanuel attacking the Democratic Party in such a pivotal year.
This is Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, or Minority Leader, I should say, Hakeem Jeffries on yesterday. Watch this.
I do not support defunding the police. I do not support open borders. I do not support abolishing the Senate. And I don't support the DSA agenda as has been articulated by the DSA itself. What I'm excited about are the candidates who are running to flip seats in November to deliver us a majority.
We just can't let up, man. We can't let up. We have to keep fighting every moment of every single damn day. It's just like there is no real quote unquote party unity. It's very obvious that the establishment, they will never stop. They are going to spend every waking moment attacking their left flank. They will lean into dirty tactics. They will lean into the reactionary moves coming from the fascist government. It's all about power for these guys. They don't care about implementing a vision, an agenda. It kills my confidence. I'm not going to lie. It's just so fucking annoying that all they give a shit about is making sure that their establishment buddies sit in safe seats. That's all this is. Straight up. That's the goal. They don't care. They don't even care if they lose the Republicans as long as their guy loses the Republicans. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine being the leader of the goddamn party and you have so much momentum on the side of Medicare for all? You have so much grassroots mobilization taking place around DSA candidates. And all these guys are doing is trying to stunt that. Like, they're trying to destroy that mobilization. They're trying to destroy your hope. It blows my mind. I mean, this is a 90-10 issue, and Hakeem Jeffries comes out and is like, I don't care about that. I don't care about that at all. I don't like that at all. This other 90-10 issue. We already know one 90-10 issue that Hakeem Jeffries is on the 10% side on. It's Israel, right? And it sucks. It sucks because the reality is that, you know, most voters still vote defensively, and they think they don't have an independent thought. They just literally watch TV, especially a lot of older voters. They watch TV and they go, well, I like this candidate. I like these policies, but television told me he can't win. So I'm afraid I'm not going to vote for this person. And we have to play that over and over again. And what's really interesting, I saw something. I saw something interesting, a statistic that bricked me. I believe in like 2016 when they polled Democratic Party primary voters, a tiny percentage of them said that they were voting for electability. By 2020, that number had gone up to 64%. I was encouraged by Michigan leaders getting together behind Abdul, but since then, they haven't done much to help him, and the DSCC isn't exactly encouraging. I know. It's just never ending, man. We have to wait for the boomers to die then? No, there's plenty of kind-hearted boomers, plenty of sympathetic boomers. The problem is the boomers are more malleable. We're not waiting. We're just pushing. Dirty break this time, dirty break time. Man, shut your bitch ass up, okay? Shut the fuck up. Dirty break now. Okay, dude, let's do it. Third party now. Let's crack 10% as we fight for ballot access in every district, in every state. Shut up. Shut up. I'm sorry. The election Twitter losers that live in Estonia understand how difficult this process is, a lot better than the fucking fantastical world that LARPers live in. That's it. I swear to God, the election perverts that live in like Eastern Europe, Western Europe, that are dialed in to every goddamn district down to fucking like, you know, Wyoming 3. Okay? They have a better understanding of how American politics works than the Iowan communists who think the only thing stopping American communism from being implemented is our unwillingness to separate from the Democratic Party. We can't even get sympathetic figures in the base of support to vote for the Democrat whose policies they align with. And you're out here thinking a third party movement is going to work. Anyway, that person was just kidding. I'm sorry for going off on a fucking tangent. Anyway, yeah, the media is half the problem. They will not mention the left without it being a gotcha. 100%. Corporate media plays its role every single time. Corporate media is unbelievably contentious, unbelievably antagonistic towards the left. The only time they will ever allow leftists on television is to shit on them. So you have to be exceptional. You have to be an exceptional communicator. Okay? You have to be phenomenal. You have to go above and beyond. Everyone has to be like fucking Zoran with messaging discipline, with policy jujitsu. Schumer gives permission to abandon Abdul. Chuck Schumer says Democrats don't necessarily need to win Michigan to flip control of the U.S. Senate. A path to winning back the Senate clearly goes through Michigan, but we have a whole bunch of different paths, Schumer said. Yeah. This is why we need Barack Obama, man. We need Barack Obama. Barack Obama, save me. That's it. It's so black pilling, dude. It's fucking one battle after another every damn day up in this bitch. Every fucking day. We have to claw our way. We have to fight every step of the goddamn way with establishment Democrats. Every fucking step. Because God forbid the party consolidates support behind a candidate that is the most consequential race, because it proves the point that if the establishment leans into progressive candidates, even in swing districts, that's going to cause a lot of problems for 2028. And establishment Democrats recognize that. Okay? Establishment Democrats recognize that if the entire party shifted its weight around to push for Abdul, and we brought in the low propensity voters and the high propensity voters that are going to come out and vote for Abdul al-Sayed regardless, if we had a unified front, Republicans would never have a shot in Michigan. So instead of allowing that victory, the establishment is basically saying, you don't have to really push for Abdul, it's fine, signaling that they're not going to lean into that and instead dump all this investment into James Tallarico, which is a far riskier race. If we go into 2028, or not 2028, but if we go into the midterm season with the rest of the party refusing to back Abdul al-Sayed and setting up additional hurdles in front of him because they don't want him to win, and then put so much money and so much effort in the direction of James Tallarico, and then the Texas freaks end up voting for Ken Paxton and he wins by an ass hair, I am going to lose my mind. You might not be surprised to know that the Schumer article mentions you. These people, man, these people, they are fucking demonic. I swear to God. I had a little bit of confidence initially. I had a little bit of confidence that they were going to do a full push behind Abdul. I am definitely worried. It's not like Abdul al-Sayed is a socialist either. That's what's so crazy about it. He's not a socialist. He's a capitalist, and they still won't back him. What are we doing, man? What are we doing? Are we the party? Are we the anti-Trump party? Or are we the pro-Israel or bust party? It's crazy.
So let's address and get your thoughts on the idea of open borders. Do you believe that anybody who wants to enter the country should be able to enter, even if they do it breaking the law?
But Martha, I'm not a supporter of open borders, but I'm also not a supporter of having an agency kidnapping Americans off the street like ICE has, where you have untrained people, 19-year-olds, they pulled off the street and gave, guns to. That's not how we do things in America. I think that we need to have law and order, but the only way to have law and order is to have trained individuals following the law. These are paperwork violations for the most part. The data doesn't show that you have mass amounts of immigrants killing people. Some people show anecdotes and the one-off incidents, but the fact is, we had good bipartisan legislation that Democrats tried to get passed through the Congress, and unfortunately, Donald Trump killed it.
Let me ask you this. First of all, as you know, ICE would dispute what you're saying there. I've spent time with ICE agents in Texas. They're hardworking. They're upholding the laws that exist on the books.
Yeah, hardworking to do crimes, dude. Yeah, okay. I don't give a shit that they're hardworking. They're causing chaos. They're a lawless, unaccountable rogue agency operating at the behest of the president, who's a psycho himself. Doesn't matter if they're working hard.
That if you enter the country illegally, and especially if you have a criminal record or a detainer against you, you have to be removed. And when they wake up in the morning and they show up at work, they have assignments that are given to them to remove people who are criminal or who have remove orders against them. Do you have any problem with someone who fits that criteria being apprehended and removed from our country?
Well, I just don't think it's a good idea to take someone who committed a murder and say, go back home and live free and enjoy the rest of your life. If someone comes to this country and they commit murder or violence, we have American jails that we can put them in and make sure they never see daylight again. But the idea that, we pick somebody off the street that committed murder, and by the way, it's not that many people we're talking about here. We're talking about a very small number of people with these criminal records.
That may be,
Most people that come to this country don't have criminal records.
Okay, so let's talk about the specific instances where they do, because there have been thousands of people who have.
ICE is not a regular law enforcement agency. They have no crime or criminal apprehension jurisdiction. They pick up people with criminal records from the prisons because law enforcement, local law enforcement, or even at times federal law enforcement have apprehended undocumented migrants, non-citizens, documented non-citizens, undocumented non-citizens. If they've done crimes, it's the regular law enforcement that actually packs them up. They go through the regular courts. They go through the American criminal justice system. ICE does not have a legitimate law enforcement apprehension function. Okay? ICE's job, both on paper and, in theory and in practice, is to follow through on paperwork violations. Okay? We have made one of the most untrained, one of the most militarized versions of federal law enforcement, a law enforcement apparatus that is tasked with following through on paperwork violations. That's their job. Can you go on CNN or Morning Joe or any of the 7 to 9 a.m., 8 a.m. news shows? What are you talking about? No, of course not. I'm blacklisted. No, I'm blacklisted from CNN and also from MSNBC. Because if liberals were to actually hear from me rather than about me as a dangerous figure, they would probably realize that I'm not some fucking crazy radical and I'm genuinely a very pragmatic person, and they can't have that. It's the same thing that happens all the time with like the Pod Johns. The reason why they fucking hate that the Pod Save America folks have me on all the time is because when that audience hears what I have to say, they're very receptive to it. And CNN understands that. MS Now understands that, which is precisely the reason why they will never have me on. That's the issue. CBS, ABC, MS Now, all these outlets, if they were to have me on for an extended period of time, instead of just like, clipped moments that the Republicans are recirculating over and over again, their audience of liberals are otherwise like very kind, very normal liberals. It's like your parents, chat. they see the clips and they lose their minds, and they're like, this is a scary guy that you're listening to. And then you're like, no, you should listen to what he has to say. And when they sit down and watch like longer than 5 minutes, when they sit down and watch a broadcast for longer than 5 minutes, they go, oh yeah, he's a very agreeable person. And you can't have that.
Have criminal records. They may not commit a crime here, but they came here with a criminal record from another country, and they came here illegally, right? I mean, we all come from somewhere. We've all been, brought into this country, and we've come here to build a life. But if you are a criminal, you break that social contract. You don't have the right to stay in the country anymore. Tell that to these women whose faces I'm putting up on the screen now: Laken Riley, Sheridan Gorman, whose family I have spent a lot of time with, Rachel Morin, Jocelyn Nungery. She was 12 years old when she was attacked by these men, who I'll put up after them, who were in the country illegally, had no right to be here. Imagine if a person that you loved in your family was killed or raped or murdered by someone who wasn't even here legally. How would you feel about that?
Well, here's what I say. My heart obviously hurts for those people, but we can't, base entire arguments off of anecdotes, one-off incidents. I mean, the data is not showing that you have thousands of people being murdered or killed by illegal immigrants in the country. That's just not true. We don't have to use fear in our arguments when we're talking about immigration. We want to have law and order, but we want to have a system that works. We want to create a pathway to citizenship for people.
Elijah, I'm not.
The notion that the random barback is responsible for heinous crimes is psychotic. But unfortunately, because the broad majority of Fox News watchers have believed this idea that every undocumented migrant is a rapist in waiting, because the majority of Fox News watchers believe this insanely racist narrative, it's an uphill battle to climb every single time. The overwhelming majority of American pedophiles are white men. They're white men. Does that mean we treat every white man as though they're a pedophile? No, of course not. That's not how anything works. We don't just automatically assume that like every white guy is Jeffrey Epstein, right? That's not how it goes. Every time I bring this up, chat has to literally go, yes! God, I fucking hate my job today. On days like this, I just fucking hate my job. I hate this. I hate it. I hate it.
I'm talking about fear. I'm talking about reality. I'm talking about reality, and I don't know that it matters.
Well, the data just doesn't support your argument.
Okay, so you're saying if there's thousands of people or hundreds of people who have committed crimes, you're just going to let them stay because the larger argument doesn't support it, or would you remove someone?
No, if they're committing murders, then they should go to prison. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I understand that some Republicans want to take these individuals and give them a vacation back at home, but they should go to prison. Is what they should do. If they kill.
Yes, that's the good line. That's it. He's doing it again. I don't want to give murderers a free ride back home. Okay? It's ridiculous. You do a crime on U.S. soil, you get apprehended by U.S. law enforcement, you go through the American courts, and you go to American prison. What are we doing? What are we doing?
An American, they should go to prison. But Republicans want to give them a vacation and take them to another country in the Latin American.
I don't think anyone wants to give them a.
Dude, it's awesome. See, it bricked her. She has no response to that. You see that? She has no response. Told you, gagged her ass, dude. Yeah, she's waffling because she has no response because she's never heard someone speak Haganese. We know how to speak Haganese, okay? I speak it fluently. That's the other reason why Fox News won't have me on either. Put me up there. I'll speak Hog. I'll speak fluent Chud, okay? I'll speak fluent fucking Chud. Law and order. Talk about emptying prisons. No, I want to put motherfuckers in prison. Talk about emptying prisons. Guess what? I want to put the Epstein class in prison, okay? We got to do law and order. Look at how lawless this goddamn president is. I'm talking about putting people who deserve it in prison. Right now, what we're doing is we're putting people who are poor in dire situations, in prison permanently. There are a lot of people who harm the masses with regular frequency that stay out of prison. They should be in prison.
Vacation. No one wants to give them a vacation. If
Well,
they
then let's put them
have
in prison.
You're going to win them like you win the unks that despise Nancy Pelosi? I'm like, yeah, you do. If you're corrupt, if you're doing insider trading, you go to prison. If you're in Congress and you do insider trading, jail for you. Jail time. You know? Rick Scott, lock him up. Jail time.
If they're committing murders, right?
But hold on, but we're talking about two different things. I'm saying if they come into the country illegally, which means crossing the border illegally, and they have a rap sheet back in their own country, are you okay with them staying here?
What I'm saying is if a murderer comes into the United States of America, sending them back for them to just come back over the border doesn't make sense to me. If you're a murderer coming to this country, put you in jail. That's all I'm saying. I mean, Republicans want to give these folks a vacation. I'm not interested in giving a criminal a vacation.
That's ridiculous. I don't know what you're talking about the vacation.
You don't know it's a free ride. It's a free ride back to their home country. She is so flustered. It's awesome.
No, we're talking about removing them for the country that they came to illegally. There's almost no country in the world that allows people to just cross their border.
That's wrong, by the way. That's wrong. Plenty of countries allow refugees in. We're talking about allowing refugees into the country. And if one of those refugees did a crime, there is no other country on the planet that literally automatically deports them. They go to prison. They go to prison in that country. Like, our structure is insane, okay? The notion that, like, if you come to the United States of America and you're seeking asylum, and then in the process you go and you murder an American citizen, we just give you a free ride back home, that's psychotic. There is no country on the planet that does this, okay? Every country on the planet accepts refugees, okay? That's number one. And number two, if someone who is a migrant that commits a crime, especially a heinous crime, no country deports them. They keep them in prison. It doesn't make any sense. This argument is so stupid. And plus, we're talking about the edge cases anyway. What we're talking about is like 0.1% of the migrant population, okay? We're talking about 0.1% of the migrant population. That's not who we're locking up. That's not who we're deporting. That's not who ICE is deporting. That's why ICE is going to immigration court and waiting out, like staking out immigration court hearings. People who are following the letter of the law. That's why ICE is going to factories. That's why ICE is going to farms. That's why ICE is going to hotels. Those are people who are working. They have their paperwork filed. Their status is in limbo because we refuse to give them the appropriate temporary protected status or the appropriate paperwork necessary. That's it. Yeah, Johnny Somali is in Korean prison for doing fucked up shit in Korea. Yep. Refugees and immigrants are two different things. You're not wrong, but a lot of these people are also seeking asylum. There's a lot of people who are seeking asylum, and then there's a lot of non-citizens, okay? Non-citizens that are cooperating with ICE. The American two-tier immigration structure exists so that there's a constant there's a constant feed of a permanent underclass that can depress wages for the documented labor force that will work for pennies on the dollar. This is how our capital owners operate, okay? From the perspective of Republicans, there is no difference between refugees. There's no difference between immigrants. There's no difference between non-citizens who are documented. Look at the Haitians. Haitians had temporary protected status in the United States of America. Donald Trump reversed that decision overnight. It's such a controversial decision, and it's so bad for the economy of Springfield, Ohio, that the Republican governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, came out and said, you can't do this. And now we're putting ankle monitors on these people. These folks were legally working on U.S. soil. They had the proper paperwork. The difference between them being a documented non-citizen and an undocumented non-citizen is literally one switch from the Republican government. Do you understand? And we can switch it all the same. We can literally take non-citizens who are currently undocumented and waiting to get their proper paperwork and offer them the proper paperwork like that. Most people we are deporting are here legally. It's not like they're hiding and not on the books. They are people who are here legally awaiting their asylum cases to be finished. Exactly. But the federal government is kidnapping them before their cases are even settled and sending them off to wherever the state feels like. You have Cuban guys in Eswatini prisons indefinitely. It is a massive injustice. It is straightforward Nazi shit, okay? I'm sick and tired of having this back and forth with people who just don't understand this process. It's not that complicated. It's only as complicated as you want it to be, okay? What's also ironic is if you look at the top line data, while undocumented immigration has skyrocketed in this country in the last 20 to 30 years, you know what's gone down? Homicides have gone down. So even from a dumb guy perspective, which, you know, you'll say this has nothing to do with one another, and that's fair, right? It's not, you know, related to one another, but even the dumb guy argument here does not favor the Republican narrative. I guess you could say that because undocumented migrants and documented migrants are less likely to commit crimes than natural-born U.S. citizens, replacing the natural-born U.S. citizen population with undocumented migrants unironically lowers crime, technically. If you want to play by those, if you want to, you know, utilize the statistics here, that's the real stat. That's the real truth, Nuke.
And begin a life inside that country. You have to come in legally. Would you not agree with that?
I agree with that, but there's a right and a wrong way to carry out our laws. We have a constitution in this country. We have rule of law. We have a Congress, and we cannot have a situation where we have people terrorizing not just, you know, immigrant communities, but terrorizing our communities, shooting random people in the face like Alex Perty. I mean, this is not acceptable way to carry out our laws in this country. The president and the executive branch need to enforce the laws, but they need to obey Congress because Congress is part of our constitution in this country.
Well, let me tell you one thing, Elijah. Congress's laws are the laws that ICE is upholding.
That's not true.
And I'm just going to ask you one more time because you didn't answer my question. Are you okay?
That's not true. That's what we're seeking to change anyway. Randy Fine caught doing crime on video.
Okay with someone crossing our border illegally, even though that's against the laws of the United States? I'm not talking about how they're removed. Are you okay with them coming in illegally?
I think I answered this question. We have to enforce the laws that we have on the books if someone's coming into the country illegally.
Okay, so they should be removed.
There is a right and a wrong way to enforce the law. We cannot shoot people in the street. We cannot kidnap Americans off the street indiscriminately. You may be okay with that. I'm not okay with that, Martha.
No, I'm not okay with anyone being removed indiscriminately. I'm okay with the laws being upheld, and I'm okay with people doing their jobs. So, well, hopefully you'll come back because we have a lot more to talk about. So, Elijah Manley, thank you. We'll be watching your race tomorrow in Florida in the 20th District. Thank you for joining me. We'll be right back.
Thank you so much, Martha.
Thank you as well.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
If you do make it to Congress, you know, you're going to have to work with this Trump administration.
What is this? Newsmax ended this interview after I turned this question on Trump's accomplishments.
So can you name one significant accomplishment that President Trump has secured since returning to office for a second term?
I think it was signing the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law. I think that is something that we saw overwhelming bipartisan support for in the United States Congress. I wish that it had come about sooner, and I wish that we had the divulgence of these DOJ documents. But I do think that having accountability for the Epstein class is something that many Americans on either side of the political spectrum can agree with.
Dude, they're reaching bottom of the barrel at Newsmax, too. This guy is famous for being annoying on airplanes, dude. I cannot believe that this is oh my God. What this country is in the dumpster, dude. I swear to God, Republicans find new and unique ways of making America worse every day. How is this possible? This guy's claim to fame is literally wearing a shirt that says "I love Donald Trump" and then filming himself on airplanes being like, And now he's a fucking Newsmax 2 broadcaster. What are we doing?
With. And so I just want to see the follow through there. I've not necessarily seen that. The redactions of Donald Trump's name in these files, which is mentioned more than perhaps any other individual besides Jeffrey Epstein.
No, let's not go
but
there.
I do
That's been debunked over and over and over again. Don't try to throw his name in
Yeah,
there.
let's not go in there. Let's not go there, please. Why not?
That's been completely debunked every single time that's come up. But
It's already
I
in
do
there.
agree
I don't
with you.
need to
That
throw
was
it in
great.
there.
That's definitely not one of the greatest things that President Trump has done in his second term. He's done. He's ended 8 wars. He's trying to end another one. He's bringing peace to a lot of places. So that's lower on the totem list.
Not Iran.
But I see your point in your strategy and trying to put that out there. Oliver Larkin, thank you so much for joining the Pulse tonight. Appreciate you coming on.
For more from our new poll, we're joined by our Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, great to see you.
Good morning.
It's a really interesting survey. So give us the big picture. These recent Democratic primaries, they were close, especially out in the Midwest. Are Democrats really split over socialism?
With a fresh batch of Republicans dumped for sex crimes and domestic violence this summer, their fall roster is looking stacked. Dog, I know you're the one lone Toby Durden, South Dakota chatter, but I genuinely think at this point, Republicans are leaning into it further where they're like, oh, thank God. I was worried that my favorite candidate didn't actually have a domestic abuse court case that's like hanging over his head. Thank God we found out that he's actually broken the collarbone of his 2-year-old daughter, allegedly. Like, that's literally at this, like, by 2028, I feel like Republicans are going to be like, oh, this candidate hasn't had a pedophilia allegation. I'm not going to fucking vote for this guy. How can I know to trust him? How could I know to trust him to do pedophilia in office? He must do pedophilia in office. Like, that's where we're headed right now. That's where we're headed. That's where this country is headed right now. They're like, hold on. I'm sorry. You mean to tell me this fucking rhino doesn't have a pedophilia allegation? I'm not voting for him then. I'm not voting for him. Yeah, this is the guy. This is literally the guy who's a Newsmax host, okay?
Trouble in paradise? Those are the reports coming out of Washington today as fractures seem to be emerging in the GOP between the Republicans' pro-pedophilia wing and the party's extremely pro-pedophilia wing. Infighting between the two pedophile coalitions reaching new levels of intensity in recent weeks, leaving GOP leadership to question how best to handle the future of their party's sexual attraction to minors. ONN's Jason Copeland joins us now from Washington with the latest. Jason, you've been in close contact with Republican insiders. What are you hearing?
Yeah, Dwight, well, this is really a battle for the soul of the Republican Party, plain and simple. You know, the GOP has historically welcomed a wide net from pederasts to ephebophiles, and there's always been, you know, sort of moderate support for sexual attraction to children, but many in the base are now asking for a more full-throated endorsement, and like you said, this is really about the party of pedophilia's future, and right now it's looking a little bit split.
And the split playing out very publicly on social media just yesterday, with Senator Tom Tillis replying pretty tepidly to the most recent Epstein Files revelations.
Yeah, that's right. He's publicly calling everything in the Epstein Files cool, which frankly, you know, to pro-pedophilia voters, this comes off as a pretty lukewarm endorsement of child sex trafficking.
Which just isn't going to cut it in the post-Trump era of Republican pedophiles. A new Gallup poll showed only 44% of Republican voters being in favor of pedophilia, with another 43% being very in favor of it.
Yeah, and that's really what we're talking about here, Dwight. You know, for the last 10 years, the entire party has been jockeying for who's going to succeed Donald Trump as the face of American pedophilia. And right now, Republicans are looking closely at some local elections for insight. And this centrist versus extreme dynamic is playing out in Republican primaries across the country. This is Utah State Senator incumbent Matt Riggs staking out the more moderate position on child sex abuse.
I think my record speaks for itself. No one, and I do mean no one, was more upset than me the day Millie Bobby Brown turned 18. I am a staunch and committed pedophile.
pretty boilerplate talking points.
Exactly. You know, it's a lot of the same old promises that many just aren't believing are going to resonate in exactly the same way anymore. And especially when you...
Is this real? No, man. It's a fucking Onion joke. But it's I mean, it's not that far off from reality. But yes, it's satire, okay? Law, love that you don't laugh at this. It's real news. I wish it was fake, but it is low-key what is becoming the reality every day. We've let it get totally out of hand in this country, okay?
You compare it alongside the more energized campaigns of some of the more charismatic sex criminals running like...
They don't really care about working class pedophiles.
His opponent, Brock Granite, political outsider who fired back in a podcast appearance earlier this week.
Seducing underage boys and girls is a bedrock founding principle of the Republican Party. And it sickens me to see my opponent swoop in and try and steal valor from the real pedophiles on the ground. I looked it up. In the Epstein files, this guy's name appears less than 300 times. It's performative pedophilia.
Now, Senator Riggs has already responded on X saying, quote, "I enjoy molesting as much as the next red-blooded American pedophile. I just don't make it my whole campaign. We need to be responsive to kitchen table issues, or the only ones left at the table will be adults." Jason, these are strong words being said against fellow pedophile party members. Is there any sense they can find common ground here and come together on this?
You know, not without strong pedophilic leadership at the top, Dwight. You know, some think J.D. Vance could be that, but others say he just looks like a pedophile more than acts like one. P. Diddy certainly could have been an interesting outside candidate. But the bottom line here, Dwight, is this is an identity crisis for a party that will eventually need to decide, are they going to push forward and continue to build upon the pedophilia of Trump? Or will they take the path of the Matt Gaetz moderates, go back to their roots and once again commit to being the grand old pedophiles of Reagan?
Will be interesting to see how it plays out. Thank you, Jason. In response to the infighting, Democratic leadership is looking to capitalize politically. Members of the House and Senate today held a joint press conference dressed as little children, stating, quote, "You can all be pedophiles if we can please have health care." Coming up next, making America healthy again. More on RFK Jr.'s latest initiative to fill the Washington Monument reflecting pool with beef tallow.
I mean, that happened. That also happened. It was just Mountain Dew instead. It was toxic sludge. Yeah. Also, you can tell it's satire because the Onion made it seem like the Democrats were actually fighting for health care in any way, shape, or form. So that's how you know it's fucking satire. That was the most far-fetched element of this satirical piece.
Let me start with the big picture among all Americans, because most Americans say they think the free market is a good thing. They have a more positive view of capitalism than they do of socialism, and they're net negative on socialism. But yeah, by comparison, there is relatively more support or favorability of socialism among Democrats. Not all Democrats, but it is a majority, and higher than compared to capitalism. You ask people what that means, because these are just labels.
Right.
And Democrats tend to describe socialism in terms of outcomes. Well, it's fairness. Well, there's more equality, and they're concerned about income inequality. Other people, other Americans describe it as government control, and that's in a more negative context. So you can look at polling going back to the 30s, going to the 60s. There's always been these discussions of socialism, but they do tend to come out in tougher economic times. And even in this poll, we find, especially young people, saying like they feel opportunities are lesser now than they were for previous generations, that it's harder to get ahead, that the system doesn't work in a fair way. All that's the bigger context.
So as you rightly point out, this is a resurgence or reemergence of socialism. Certainly we've seen that this summer. How is it then splitting the Democratic Party specifically?
So one interesting thing is that it is college-educated Democrats who are relatively more favorable for socialism. And yes, they have even slightly higher incomes. We've seen some of that too in the votes that you mentioned, or the vote patterns in these states. what could be happening there is a sort of relative expectations. Maybe they've got a little more money, but it doesn't buy them as much as they thought. And the other part of it is, you ask people, is the Democratic Party as progressive as you'd like it to be? And that is also pretty even.
Even as they have this argument amongst themselves, ultimately they've got to go find swing voters, maybe even Republican voters, to vote for at least some of these Democrats if they have any hope of retaking control of Congress. So when you ask Americans overall about socialism and how the Democratic Party is sorting itself, what do they say?
So the big question here, I think, is what are the Democrats offering that's in contrast to the Trump economy? And of course, they want this to be a referendum on the Trump economy. But Democrats say they'd like to have bigger ideas from their candidates than smaller.
I'm sorry, but at a certain point, you can't keep begging in the polls. You got to make that decision. If you don't vote for people with big ideas, the party's never going to change. Because Democrats say this, but then they also still vote with a defensive posture. Okay? That's it. This is the most common expectation that I've heard. Democrats want their representatives to fight for them. Democrats want their representatives to hold the Trump administration accountable. They want their electeds to also fight for big changes. But then MS Now, CNN, New York Times, basically the entirety of corporate media turns around and tells them that the no changes candidate is the only electable one. It's the moderate one. And they go, oh my God, you're right. I have to vote for the no changes candidate again. And then it's surprise Pikachu face all over again. Every single time. They're like, how do we get here? How do we get here? Well, perhaps it's because you are not voting for the candidate that you like. Exit poll after exit poll shows unbelievable levels of support for Medicare for all in the same race where the anti-Medicare for all candidate is considered the electable candidate, and that's the candidate that wins. Democrats run with electability in the primaries and harm reduction in the general. And that's the reason why they never have to push for change. They can just wait it out. They can just wait out the Republican madness as the country ratchets further and further to the right. And there are people who are demanding those changes. There are media platforms who are demanding those changes. But obviously, those people get bullied and yelled at all day, every day by the same corporate media. And then there are liberals who behave like consultants for free, liberals who operate as though they are DNC paid consultants that will then establish those exact same lines of attack, highlight those same exact problems that the Republicans are making a big deal out of. It's strange. I don't know why there's so much reproduction of this kind of reactionary propaganda coming from people who think they're doing the right thing, people who are just like independent themselves. This is how we generate voter apathy. The constant race to the bottom.
Or incremental ones. They'd like to see people who they think are fighting for them, almost more affect than anything else. The way that plays going forward is that when you ask people to look back on other times Democrats have been in power, it's not necessarily seen as being successful. Remember the last time inflation started under Democrats. So do they need to offer something new in contrast? This is ultimately a fight about what that is.
All right. Anthony, we'll talk a little bit more about this later. Thank you for now.
Thanks.
And here he is now, James Carville. You really
in the flesh. Nice to see you, Jesse.
Nice to see you too. We're glad you're not in a bed. We usually see you in a bed.
I know. Usually I've had a little surgery and I've been in the bed a lot lately.
Good. We're glad you're doing better. You look great.
Doing better.
We're glad you're doing. I wish I could say the same thing for the Democratic Party. Do you think that you guys should run AOC, another woman? You guys have not done well running women, James.
Well, first of all, I don't know why I feel bad about the Democratic Party. We're ahead 8 points in aggressive drag. Trump's at 32% in the polling. So I don't know about, I'm worried about the Democrats right now. I'm not. We're going to win the House.
You're not worried about the communists taking over the party?
No, they're a bunch of silly people. Those people you had on there, those DSA people, they're a pack of fools. No one pays attention to them. They ain't gonna do anything. Now, if you ask me about AOC, I do think she's very talented. She's certainly to the left of me, but you know what she's doing? What I think good politicians do, she's growing into the job. She's not the same person she was when she was elected in 2018. And when people change a position from a...
Connor says, I'm sorry, but Jesse Waters is so comically awful. It's kind of awesome. He's perfect for his role. 100%. He's like a textbook villain, dude. He's like a school bully. Record behavior. He's doing it right now. By the way, Fox News loves this shit. Yes.
What I think is a more naive position to a more realistic position, I'm going to praise them. I'm a guy, I like converts in my church. I can't get you to come into
agree.
it.
I agree. People can grow up. I have certainly grown up. Jesse Waters, have matured over my career. But what she was saying that menstruating people, you can't. I mean,
again, this is only a big deal if we allow the Republicans to make it a big deal. Every single instance of trans-related issues is only a big deal because the Democrats don't have definable policies that they run on that Republicans have to position themselves against. I've been saying this for the last decade. I'm going to continue saying it. It kind of feels like at least some of the establishment Democrats are coming to terms with that reality as well a little bit, because we constantly find ourselves in a defensive posture where we allow the Republicans to dominate the conversation. We allow Fox News to be the news desk editor of New York Times, MS Now, CNN, and the rest of corporate media that's like a little bit more liberal. Okay? Like, who cares? Who cares that AOC said, like, menstruating persons? I don't care. Why is this relevant to me? I don't care. I genuinely don't care. The woke one stuff becomes a major flashpoint for some reason because Republicans are so comfortable in that space. They try to turn around and say, look, Democrats are doing an about face. They're running away from their previous positions. They're running away from their previous positions where they were being cringe. They were being overly sensitive. They were being hyper woke. I don't care. Okay? I think it's unbelievably immaterial in the grand scheme of things. And I don't even like it when people are complaining as though this is AOC and DSA aligned electeds actually going back on their previous promises. It's one of AOC's biggest flaws. She sounds too much like a rad lib. She should communicate like a normal American. It's good. It's a good thing. If she turns around and says, yeah, I'm just not doing the hypersensitive stuff any longer. I'm just going to talk about the kitchen table issues. I'm going to talk about the bread and butter issues. I'm going to talk about, affordability. Then that's great. That's a welcomed addition, okay? I don't like when people also then lose their minds over it. I don't like when people lose their minds over like, oh, well, she's very clearly going to throw everything under the bus. She's going to become a moderate establishment centrist Democrat or something. Okay? Who cares what kind of language that people were using? Who cares? I never did, but it doesn't matter, right? I think running around saying that's just fucking a dog whistle for trans genocide. Wait, what? No, it's not. No, it's not. The argument is very simple, okay? Do you want health care? Do you want a roof over your head? Great. Trans people are also getting it. Are you fine with that? Or are you not fine with that? Leave trans people alone. If you're not fine with that, well, then sucks to suck. Go vote for the anti-trans party, okay? There are much less people who will make that calculation and go vote for the anti-trans vote, okay? That's the reality. As opposed to what we're currently doing, as opposed to what we're currently doing, which is not offering anything to those people at all and just going, oh, you're anti-trans. That means you're a villain. That means you can't be a part of this broader coalition. Brother, I know you aren't intending it, but you're being slightly transphobic, saying it's a nonsense issue. Trans men and MBs at X and M get denied insurance without the inclusive language. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. Do you think trans men and women get denied insurance coverage because AOC didn't say like menstruating persons? Is that what you seriously are saying? No, that is an entirely separate conversation. Okay? I'm simply stating that Democrats that want to protect trans people, okay? Democrats that want to protect trans people should have a broader left populist agenda that they put at the forefront. Okay? Because any conversation that revolves around the optics argument, okay? The optics argument that centers, trans issues is always going to be a defensive posture against the Republicans, and it clearly doesn't work. Not with you on this one, boss. Sorry. I'm not saying compromise on trans issues. I've never said that. Okay? The best possible way to deal with this is to say trans people are our neighbors. They are a part of the working class. You need to leave them alone. Their problems are working class issues as well. Okay? They're God's children, just like you and I. Shut the fuck up about trans people. Republicans are distracting everyone by constantly talking about trans people. Donald Trump already eradicated transgender athletes from NCAA, and it didn't help. It didn't help pay your rent. Okay? It did not help pay your rent. Did it? Is your life better? Are eggs more affordable now? They're not, because that was used to make you think that Donald Trump was doing something. As a trans person, unless someone says they are trans in these conversations, do not engage in bad faith actors. It's 1% of the population. The fact that it is 90% of the discourse is unfucking believable, and it is by design. And this has worked, by the way. It worked in Kentucky. Andy Bashar did this. And I'm a great example of this as well, right? Like, this is a pro-trans community, okay? Uncompromising on trans issues. This is a pro-trans community. This is a community where trans people are protected, right? We ban transphobes immediately, okay? Having said that, have you ever heard me say Latinx? Have you ever heard me say birthing person or menstruating person? These are important pieces of language that you can use in an academic setting, but like, I don't say that. I don't use that language at all. Does that make you question whether or not I think trans issues are ones that we should cast aside? Has that ever made you think, oh, well, I don't know about Hassan. I don't know if Hassan is actually a pro-trans or not? Has that ever made you question whether I'm pro-trans or not, even a little bit? That's it. Because it doesn't mean anything. It's just like an aesthetic marker. That's all it is. For some people, they question it. Okay, well, I guess that's just the reality then. This is one of the only massive spaces on the internet where trans people can congregate and know full well that they will be protected. They will not be attacked. They will not be attacked by transphobes. We work very hard to ensure that it's a safer space. It's also an educational space, so it's not going to be 100% a safe space regardless. But like, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to like, I don't know why you're being defensive about this right now. I'm being defensive about this because in order to better protect all marginalized communities, including trans people, there is a way to communicate these issues to the masses, because we're currently losing on this argument. Because Republicans are capable of dominating the conversation on this argument. They're very successfully dominating the conversation on this argument. I'm not even compromising on like transgender athletes. I think that stuff is fucking ridiculous as well, right? It's ridiculous. Why do you care? It's a ridiculous story. It's a ridiculous issue. But the only reason why we are constantly talking about it, we're constantly fucking talking about it, is because the Republicans know that it's a 70-30 issue now for them, and that's the only thing that they can lean into. It's 1% of the population, and it's ridiculous. It doesn't hurt you one way or another. It only hurts trans people if you're a trans person. That's it. But dunking on 1% of the population, does that make you feel better? I guess if you're a fucking bully, you know, it makes you feel like there's a group of people that you are above. It's a totally cultivated issue that Republicans successfully manufacture outrage around over and over again. Our guy Van Lathan had a take about trans people in sports is going semi-viral. Yeah, this was a great take.
If you cannot gift trans people at this point, if you cannot gift them with visibility, humanity, and acceptance, could you at least gift them with silence? Could you at least shut the up about them? Like, could you just at least leave them the alone? There are wars happening in the Middle East. Food prices are crazy. Like, the environment is in the shit. We can't eat lettuce without crapping our pants, all of this stuff, and you still picking on these people after all of this time. Shut the up.
Yeah. Beast mode. I say this to my friends, and they immediately hit the "you're okay with minors getting gender-affirming care when under 18s can't even get a tattoo." The question you should ask them is, why do you care about what a medical professional is deciding to do with a patient? Do you make this decision about, do you get to have a say when a doctor decides to do open heart surgery on a minor? Do you get to have a say when someone who's a minor is pre-diabetic and a doctor decides to give them Ozempic? Do you get to have a say in every minute, detailed medical decision that a fucking doctor is making for a minor patient? Your take on this is awful. Really? We get to decide. I didn't go to medical school. You didn't go to medical school. None of us know better. Okay? But we should get to make these decisions. I think it's psychotic. You let minors drink and smoke cigs? Okay, never mind. We are in agreement. I agree. I think it's ridiculous. There is a Haganese version of this message. You know? Then they argue that this is different. How do we respond to that? What do you mean it's different? It's literally, it is a medical decision being made by a medical professional. What are we talking about? It's not different. It's exactly the same. They can't just say it's different. There are people out there who are Christian scientists. Okay? There are people out there who do not believe in doctors. There are people out there who do not believe that if you were to break your arm as a 12-year-old, that you should get a cast. Okay? Straight up. There are people who believe that. Are we going to let them make these decisions now? If there's enough of them, we got to make them make these decisions. This is the hog retort. Okay? Sometimes it's good to speak the language of the hog. Sometimes it's good to speak like a chud. Okay? Just because people don't believe in medical intervention doesn't mean that we have to abide by that. Doesn't mean that we get to make these decisions. That's not how we write legislation. It's fucking ridiculous. What are we doing? It's that simple. Speak like a chud, think like a woke. Yeah. When people ask you about this stuff, just say, I think a doctor should make this decision. I'm sorry. You know? I don't like braces. I think they are bad. Do I get to have a say on whether or not a minor gets braces, or is it the doctor? Is it the dentist that makes that decision? I think it should be the dentist that makes that decision. I didn't go to dentist school. Okay? I didn't go to dentist school. They did. They know better. Sometimes it's better to leave this up to the people who spent their lives trying to give people the necessary life-saving, oftentimes, medical intervention. That is a real problem in American discourse. This is a real issue in American culture, for sure, where we've just like, I think due to American exceptionalism and American individualism, we've deluded ourselves into thinking that we know better than the people who've spent their entire lives studying the subject and learning and trying to help people. You know, like I don't know more than a doctor, okay? I don't know better than a doctor. I don't. And I'm man enough to admit it. Okay? I'm smart enough to recognize my limitations. This is the problem. A lot of Americans do not operate like this at all. They go, no, I know everything. And I'm a unique little snowflake. And just because my unique little brain decided a certain thing, everybody else has to abide by it. It's like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. So yeah. There's always a way to flip the script back on people who have ridiculous opinions. Okay? Ridiculous opinions on how things should be, how society should be formed. There's always a way to speak in the language of liberalism if you're talking to liberals, and the language of Haganese if you're talking to chuds. I think one of AOC's biggest weaknesses, unironically, was always the fact that she speaks too much like a rad lib, too much like an academic. She always wanted to be as accessible as what's the word? Like she just wanted to be as kind as possible, right? And it comes across as insincere. Inclusive is the word, yes. She's too inoffensive, too inclusive in her language, and it sometimes comes across as insincere. Okay? I disagree. She's loved. Yes, she's loved by our community, but our community is obviously far from the norm. Okay? I think part of the problem also is that corporations also took on this language. And once that happens, once DEI language, if you want to call it that, or inclusivity language is associated with corporate Memphis as a type font, as a design language, once it's associated with Amazon, McDonald's, Nike, it's fucking over. And in some instances, it makes sense that people actually reacted to this in a negative manner because it's just not how like normal people operate in the real world, right? That's why I say you got to speak the language of the masses. You got to speak to the masses. You got to be where the masses are, and you got to speak to their needs. You got to lend a helping hand. This was somewhat of an issue with Francesca Hong as well. It's not about dropping these issues, dropping these policies, dropping the advocacy. It's just about, you know, talking like a normal person. Because in the rest of the country, I'm sorry, there are plenty of kind individuals, kind-hearted individuals who just haven't like thought about these issues at all, right? They haven't thought about these issues at all, but they could be convinced. But when they hear that kind of language, they basically immediately assume that it's insincere, it's corpo speak, it's HR speak, it's whatever, right? Like they hear that and they go, "Oh, here we go. This is another smug elitist." Okay, inclusivity is good. That's not an argument, but there comes a time when you have to put yourself on the same level as constituents and the masses and speak like them and what matters in their day-to-day life. Yeah. Gramsci said in the prison notebooks that intellectuals have a dialogical responsibility to educate the masses. I do think so, for sure. But a good educator who's speaking to the masses will have to speak the language of the masses. If their language comes across as inaccessible, if their language comes across as far too academic or far too inaccessible, then of course people are not going to listen to it. So then we fail on that desire. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, normal people don't see that language as pro-working class. They see it as elite bullshit. That's why this is a bunch of white, middle-class, champagne socialist line has more emotion with Chuz. Yes, 100%.
That's like a core fundamental issue, a biological issue. Usually like the next year when it's unpopular, you say, oh, I don't believe that.
But look, there was a place where part of the country went crazy in 2019, 20, 21, 22. I told them they were crazy. And to her credit, she doesn't talk like that anymore. Good, you've grown. We like that. You're moving in the right direction.
Okay, well.
It's such bullshit because normal person talk was hijacked by right-wing culture wars. We can hijack it with inclusivity and kindness too. Just can't be framed in a snobby case. I know, but like saying stuff like I don't even think it's that big of a deal when someone says like birthing person. I just don't. I think this is irrelevant, right? Like the example I always use is like Amy Goodman. I love Amy Goodman. I respect the shit out of her. I revere Amy Goodman. I think she is a shining a bright light in a sea of awfulness. Okay. She does it all the time. She's always done it. To me, it doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't matter. It's utterly irrelevant. It's completely harmless. Who cares if people are using that kind of language? But if you're trying to sell yourself to the masses, okay, if you're trying to sell yourself to the masses, like you're going to have to sometimes reposition your comments. You're going to have to reposition the way you talk about certain issues. That's it. It's not about dropping your advocacy at all. It's more so about making your advocacy more successful. And the other side of the story also is obviously defining yourself. You always have to define yourself, okay? You have to define your campaign and your candidacy around key issues that help people, that want to improve people's lives, okay? Zohar Mamdani is a great example of this. He's woke. Nobody gave a shit about his advocacy for trans issues or anything like that because they were too busy yelling about his communist policies of state-run grocery stores as though it's like impossible to push for that when in places like fucking Georgia they already have it. Every goddamn military base is a commissary. Right? Hassan has to explain why meeting people where they are works every stream. I know. And it's kind of funny because I've never stopped doing this. I haven't stopped doing this during Woke 1.0. I haven't stopped. I've been doing this exact argument. I've been presenting this exact argument since like 2014. Okay. And day in, day out, there are still people who come in here and go, nah, that's fucked up. Or people who come in here and go, you're the king of woke, fuck you. You were Mr. Woke 1.0, whatever. Okay, what are your thoughts on alternative examples that explain some ideas in a more normal way? I just did. I explained to you the transgender, the way to talk about like trans-related issues is through medical privacy. Not allowing the government to intervene in the affairs of a patient and a doctor. It's fucking ridiculous. Because it is ridiculous. As far as trans athletes, the question always is like, why do you care? Do you care about high school athletics? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? These people aren't like faking it so they can get an upper hand. They just want to, they're kids. They're kids. They want to be a part of kid shit, like what kids do. They want to have a sense of community. What do you mean? Like, why are you dunking on a 14-year-old, dude? What the fuck's wrong with you? And then on the other side, how do we legislate this? How do we actually regulate this? Do you want random perverted parents to do genital inspection day at your school? Because that's what we're going to. That's what we're heading towards. You're going to have a daughter one day. Your daughter's going to be too dominant in high school athletics. And then the opposing team's fathers are going to be like, we need to see her pussy. Is that a reality you want to live in? It's disgusting. It's pedophilic. Why the fuck are we letting these pedophilic monsters interfere in these affairs? Straight up. That's it. That's literally the advocacy. They want genital inspection day. Flip the script. I don't want these pedophiles doing genital inspection day at school.
Always a good thing.
Is the rest of your party moving in the right direction? We saw Gavin Newsom fly to Michigan to kiss this guy's ring, this guy Abdul, who calls you names, Carville. He hates you.
So what? They don't like me. I don't dislike them. He's a guy. I was for Haley Stevens. But all the people that I see out there running Ossoff and Andy Bashir and Shapiro and West and everybody else, there's so much talent in this party. People are going to be blown away after we get past 26 and start running.
Okay.
And the people that we're talking about are not going to do anything.
Okay, Ossoff, Bashir, no one knows these guys.
Person.
These guys are boring guys. You know, that's the future. We're talking about right now, James. And right now, I mean, the mayor here in New York speaking Chinese. Do you speak Chinese?
I don't, but I wish I did. I would be a more educated person, and I'm not going to fault anybody for learning.
Dude, Mamdani speaks Chinese. God, it's over. Okay? American supremacy is done. This is the leading subheader on the most popular news broadcast in the country. Okay? Anti-intellectualism has won in America B. We cannot allow it to win in America A. Okay? The other side of the story, after I talked about, like, you know, speaking the language of the masses, is also the idea that, like, it's actually better to keep your head in the fucking sand. This notion. Like, you cannot use this as a line of attack, man. You are not. This is unacceptable. It's so fucking stupid, dude. It's so stupid. I can't. Mamdani speaks Chinese. How do you feel about that, James Carville? What the fuck? Do you want America to be a dominant force around the planet or not, dumbass? The fuck are you talking about?
Other language. Unfortunately, I barely speak Cajun French, but that's fine. It means he's the guy's he's an educated, smart guy. He speaks different languages.
Well, I don't think he speaks it.
By the way, the mayor of New York,
I think he mimicked
he can bring
it.
Chinese businesses.
Okay, fine. All right, so that's fine. He's speaking Mandarin here in New York City. And a big wing of your party, James, they want to abolish the police, prisons, and the border. I mean, no one's standing up to these people.
Yeah, it's a great question. Who's a great
question? You tried, and nothing happened.
We're staring up like crazy right here where I'm sitting in New Orleans. Our crime rate is down, I don't know, 30, 35%. New York is a low-crime jurisdiction. We have all of these Democratic police mayors having these tremendous police chiefs around the country, but the crime rate now is as low as it's been, I don't know, I think since 1960.
You don't give the president any credit for that?
No, I mean, it started going down in 2020.
Okay, and so it has nothing to do with deporting all of these criminal illegals?
Fine. What did all of this was put into place earlier in this decade. All of this is the fruition of technology coming together in law enforcement and better trained and more professional policing. We're starting to reap the dividends of this.
Okay. Well, I'm glad crime is at a 150-year low. That is definitely good news we could both be happy about.
I'll take it.
So these other guys, they want to take away my doctor. James, I love my doctor. I see my doctor all the time. I have a lot of issues, physical, emotional, mental, and they want Medicare for all. You know what that means. You know what that means, right?
I know exactly what it means. If I was starting the system over, honestly, I would start with Medicare for all.
You would.
But you're not starting over. So I think I think at the end of the day, when
see, this is what I mean. You're weak. You're weak. You shouldn't concede on this. Okay, you should be like, it's far better than the system that we currently have with skyrocketing premiums. Okay, sky high premiums are cleaning people's lunch money out. It's unacceptable. We are the only OECD nation on the planet that does not have some form of socialized healthcare. It is embarrassing. It is unacceptable. New studies show 114,000 excess deaths are caused due to people not receiving their primary health care, not going to the doctor on time, avoiding the medical interventions that are necessary. This is the wealthiest nation on earth. We're spending billions of dollars waging war at Israel's behest over in the Strait of Hormuz and losing. And you're going to tell me that we can't have Medicare for all? Get the hell out of here. This is a third world country with a Gucci belt, man. Get the fuck out of here.
People think about it, is not going to be a very good idea. But the idea that somebody thinks we should have some version of universal coverage in this country is in line with most advanced Western governments around the world.
I mean, people.
I don't think.
It's not perfect, but to blow up the system and spend almost $4 trillion a year on it, I mean, it just seems like suicide. You know better than that. Let me ask you, besides Medicare for all, what are the new ideas that the Democrat Party is pushing now? New ideas.
Let me give you a couple.
Okay.
Raise taxes on incomes above $450,000 a year, and take the money and put it into a first-time home buyer's mortgage relief fund. Let's start there. The minimum wage hadn't been raised since 2009. Let's raise the thing to $15 an hour pronto. Let's give companies tax breaks that pay to employees above and beyond what you would expect them to pay. Let's encourage higher wages around the country. Let's be very aggressive in promoting American products and American trade, where we could build more wealth in the country. There's all kinds of things that we can do, and good ideas.
I think those are some good ideas. Some of them you guys had a shot at last time, didn't really try them, but that's fine. James, I am just happy to see you out of bed. Looking.
I mean, even Carville is like, slowly
President Trump
genuflecting
threatening
to the left populist flank, I guess. But even then, he's there reluctantly. Okay, let's talk about the Strait of Hormuz, another area of disaster. Okay. I will say James is not as bad as Neera Tanden because after the primary, because he sometimes locks in on hating the Republicans. Yeah. I've never seen a party leader aggressively try to cripple a party candidate like this and go out of their way to help them lose to the other party. Remarkable stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, according to the Washington Post, backlash in Michigan complicates Democrats' road to retaking the Senate. Chuck Schumer says Democrats don't necessarily need to win Michigan to flip control of the U.S. Senate. A path to winning back the Senate clearly goes through Michigan. Yeah, if they try to undermine the Michigan run, which is the easiest route to the Senate majority, because they cannot allow a Medicare for all anti-Zionist candidate to win. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind, dude. It's just, I had a little bit more confidence. I had a little bit more confidence in the immediate aftermath when there was the whole party unification stuff going on. David Sirota wrote this a couple weeks ago. I'm going to write something here that we all know is true, but few are willing to just say out loud. There's a non-zero chance that the National Democratic Party, its donors, and its media will decide to abandon and sabotage populist anti-establishment Democratic nominees in the upcoming general election. Many in this corporate faction would rather such nominees lose, even if that means Democrats losing the Senate and governorships, than see these candidates win. Why? Because if these candidates win, they threaten to change the Democratic Party and make the corporate faction irrelevant. Doors open. Yeah. And I am really worried about that. I'm really, really worried about that reality because currently, as it stands, they hold all of the money. There's obviously a lot of power in corporate media as well in terms of what voters get to see. There's going to be a faucet of money that's being dumped into this race against Abdul al-Sayed, as there was a barrage of attack ads that he received to the tune of $70 million. Okay? So in the general, it's important for the base to unify. It's important for the establishment Democrats to consolidate support behind all of their candidates, even if they don't agree with the progressive wing of the party. Okay? Because in order for this theory of change to work, the Democrats can't sabotage the progressive wing. Can you give me the two sauces as well? Thank you. And it's clear that they're like, hey, man, this happened with Zora and we still won. Yeah, in New York City, chat. And even then, it was difficult. Chopsticks too, please. You guys understand that New York City and Michigan are entirely different electorates, right? Chopsticks too, please. Oh, thank you. Teriyaki chicken again? Yes, it's teriyaki chicken time again. It's always teriyaki chicken time. Bro, Trump is minus 27. Come on, man. Guys, there are a lot of people who are just dumb as fuck, okay? It doesn't matter. Most people don't even know that there is a primary or a midterm election happening, and you're over here being like, oh, dude, you know, Trump is minus 27. Like, as though that means anything. This is a big problem. Anyway, let's get back to the Strait of Hormuz.
Obama, U.S. ally, amid frustration with the Iran war with no end in sight. Charlie D'Agata and Nancy Cordes kick it off for us on Iran, beginning with you, Charlie. Good morning to you. What is the latest? What can you tell us?
Good morning, Gail. Well, Iran has been in talks with Oman for weeks to work out a strategy for shipping routes in the Strait of Hormuz, though nothing concrete has come from it. Those talks have prompted President Trump to threaten to strike, even as Iran disputes his claims about who controls the strait.
We'd handle them very easily, just like we do others.
With ships stuck in the Strait of Hormuz and talks dead in the water, President Trump Monday took aim not at Iran, but longtime U.S. ally Oman, which shares the strait and has been negotiating control of the waterway with the regime. Trump told Fox News, if Oman gets in the way, we'll bomb the expletive out of them. Democratic Senator Tim Kaine challenged that threat, promising to file a war powers resolution prohibiting military action against Oman. Iran marked the end of the 60-day memorandum with its own threat to go fully offensive if diplomacy fails. The head of the Iranian army offering a $30,000 bounty for the killing or capture of a U.S. soldier, double that if a woman carries it out. President Trump still insists Iran cannot have a
#woke
nuclear weapon and has floated the idea of making the strait American property.
We control it with a blockade, and I like the idea of declaring it a territory.
With the turmoil unfolding in the Middle East, Trump dropped another bombshell on U.S. ally South Korea, instructing Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to substantially reduce joint military exercises with the country because its president refused to help America denuclearize Iran.
We don't need help with Iran, but if you'd like, give us a hand with Iran. He said, no thanks.
This made me fucking really annoyed. This made me really annoyed because that Project Liberal dipshit that's funded by the Koch brother had an insincere take that I replied to. Hassan, Trump, bar none, of all of our contemporary presidents, probably the best on the Korean issue. Hassan is showing his hand again. This guy's out here cheering Trump's move to abandon our allies and cozy up to one of the most repressive dictatorial regimes on earth. If it's proven that Hassan was a paid CCP propagandist, his content wouldn't look any different. That's, by the way, an interesting sleight of hand there. He's like probably worried about, now that I'm pursuing litigation against Scott Jennings. Notice how he is no longer saying like, oh, Hassan is a paid CCP propagandist. Interesting. Anyway, I replied, but what should we do? Should we lean into exercises or let them work out a peace deal that the South Korean leadership also wants? Should we go fight a nuclear armed nation? We can't even defeat Iran. What's your suggestion, moron? Why are you trying to outflank the Republicans on war? He says, Hassan sounds identical to Tucker Carlson here. Just replace North Korea with Russia. The answer to the challenge is simple. What happened when Obama did nothing after Russia took Crimea? 8 years later, Russia invaded outright, and well over 100,000 Ukrainians are dead. Kim's stated war plans is the complete occupation and subjugation of South Korea. There is no peace deal that doesn't include North Korea subjugation to the south. North Korea has 13,000 artillery pieces and rocket launchers massed near the DMZ, plus an estimated 60 nuclear warheads. If war breaks out, estimates run up to 300,000 dead in the first days from conventional munitions alone. If nuclear weapons are used, it could be upwards of 2 million dead. The regime holds up 100,000 plus political prisoners in camps. The UN ruled crimes against humanity. Guilt by association is enough for you to send there to die. And 3 generations of a family are often sent to the camps for the crime of war. South Koreans want freedom from subjugation. They don't want to live in a totalitarian dictatorship. American support for 70 years has kept war from breaking out and allows South Koreans to live in freedom. The end of that support makes war more likely, not less. In America, we stand by our allies. We do this because it is, in fact, the anti-war position. Appeasement and pre-surrender serves the interests of our foreign adversaries, but I'm sure Hassan already knows this. Now, what's really interesting about this unbelievable Voice of Asia-ass post is that it's almost entirely incorrect. Okay? That's what's so crazy about it, because notice how he doesn't respond to any of the questions that I have, where I said, why are we not abiding by the South Korean leadership's desires in this circumstance to end the war? No one said anything about like complete reunification or anything like that. Okay? What I'm saying, Radio Free Asia, what I'm saying is, let South Korea and North Korea talk to one another. The military exercises are unnecessary saber rattling and improving or increasing the unnecessary militant posture against North Korea rather than letting these two parties talk to one another. Okay? That's it. Those drills are only liked by the far right in South Korea. Those drills are only to soothe the interests of the far right in South Korea at a time when the South Korean attitude towards Trump is in the gutter. They hate Donald Trump because Donald Trump did the Iran war, which is now destroying the South Korean economy. I like that his retort was Obama should have started war with a nuclear-armed nation over Crimea. That's his retort. It's good stuff. Does South Korea get to have a say here? Yeah. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung has proposed talks with North Korea to formally end the Korean War and replace the armistice with a peace regime, saying dialogue could also curb Pyongyang's advancing nuclear program. Korean politics are, yes, depression-inducing mindfuckery. But ironically enough, I think like America's power waning in the global stage has caused the Korean government, this is a much more liberal Korean government, which isn't really saying much because, you know, obviously it's 7 families that run the entire show over there. But these guys are obviously taking a different stance in terms of dealing with South Korea. This is something that happened in the, not the last incel president, but when Donald Trump was president, when South Korea was trying to normalize relations formally with North Korea once again.
Trump touted his close relationship with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, saying he's always treated me with respect. Unlike Iran, North Korea has already developed a nuclear weapon, posing a threat not only to South Korea, but the U.S. itself. Vlad?
That's a good point, Charlie. Thank you very much. Let's go to the White House and Nancy Cordes. So, Nancy, what do the president's comments tell us about where this war could be?
I'm almost certain the reason why South Korea sees an opportunity here to deal with North Korea directly is partially because of the quagmire in the Strait of Hormuz. They see what it looks like when you're an American client. And they realize that there's no longevity there. America sent in their THAADs in 2016 to South Korea. China hated it. This led to the loss of billions of dollars of economic activity in South Korea. This also might have led to China creating its own, Chinese pop industry rather than consuming K-pop in China. And all of that was for nothing because guess what? America took those THAADs out a couple months ago because they had to defend the UAE and defend Israel. So all of that loss of trade by the major trading partner in their backyard was for nothing. Why the fuck should they still follow along with our desires?
Vlad, I think Trump's comments are a window into his frustration about his options nearly 6 months into this war. The ceasefire agreement he signed back in June, it set out 60 days for negotiations between the U.S. and Iran. And 60 days later, here we are, and there are no negotiations over Iran's nuclear program. The Strait of Hormuz remains largely closed to oil shipping, which is keeping gas prices up. President Trump just has not been able to force Iran to the table, despite months of heavy bombing that we were told were going to leave Iran with no choice. And the only country Iran is talking to is Oman. But whatever deal they both cut to reopen the strait is likely to leave Iran with more control over global shipping traffic than it had before the war. So sometimes Trump's frustration with Iran spills over onto Oman, even though it is a crucial U.S. ally in the region, and no one seriously believes that he would ever bomb Oman, despite the fact that he's now made threats publicly against them a couple of times.
Well, see, I used to say stuff like that, but unfortunately, Donald Trump is fucking insane. So who knows? Former Israeli captive asked to execute Palestinian prisoners himself. Jesus Christ. I wish there was a better explainer on the Korea issue. Or not a better explainer on the Korea issue, but like, I think the liberal talking points on this issue are very bad. I think liberals broadly are saying like Trump is abandoning our allies, all this stuff, which is true. There is truth to that. There's always truth to that. But because Trump is a fucking asshole, and he has abandoned our allies. But the real abandonment for South Korea actually came far before this last iteration. It came when Donald Trump attacked Iran, and Iran retaliated by closing the Strait of Hormuz. That's when we fucked South Korea over. So that is when we really, really screwed over South Korea. We screwed over Japan. I like the de-escalation on the Korean Peninsula, but this still is worrying from the perspective of how much we're just abandoning all commitments we make to other countries and what that means for the future. I mean, we have to restrain ourselves around the globe, no matter what. So if that's Trump doing it, or whether it be Biden doing it, I'm in favor of it. And I don't even think that this is actually foregoing security commitments in the way that Trump is presenting it. I think Trump will always posture and be like, oh, Korea, you're not pro-Israel enough. That's why we're doing this. But I think behind closed doors, this decision is more so in line with what South Korea wants to do as well. Part of the problem is that nuanced speech about this issue is basically illegal in South Korea, despite the fact that Section 7 of the National Security Act has had High Court overturn it 9 times as of last month because they keep throwing teenagers in jail for downloading North Korean music for the memes. Yeah, there is a state repression in South Korea as well. There's like a holdover from their military dictatorship. But yeah, South Korea's president has renewed his push to regain independent control of the military from the U.S. Democrats who stand with our allies should, 1, support giving Seoul full operational control over its own military, and 2, support calls for diplomacy to finally end the Korean War. That's my assessment as well. This is the problem, though. Democrats instead are saying, no, we should keep doing fucking military exercise in the Korean Peninsula. And it's so dumb because the entire world, including South Korea, knows that we don't have the capabilities of fighting a fucking war against even North Korea. Do you understand that? We cannot allow the Trump administration to be the reasonable party when even if they're making a reasonable decision, they're actually presenting it in the most unreasonable manner. They hear him say, oh, I love Kim Jong-un, and then they lose their goddamn minds. If we're making a choice like this, which is the right choice in my opinion, it should have been done in coordination with the ROK government and actually planned out. I'll still take it. Yes, of course. That's what competent leadership looks like. The problem is we don't have a competent leader. We have a psychopath who literally turned around and said, I love Kim Jong-un, and South Korea is not sufficiently Zionist for my taste palette, and therefore, fuck you, we're actually taking away the military exercises. Presenting the reducing of the military exercises as a negative, when it's not. A normal competent government, a normal competent administration that follows the Trump one should say things like this. It's very clear that American military supremacy has only yielded tremendous death and destruction overseas and nothing for our working class here in this country. We must be more peaceful in our attitude. We must always pursue diplomacy. And in the interest of pursuing diplomacy, we will do everything we can in coordination with our ally, the Republic of Korea, to ensure that the Republic of Korea and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea will get to the table and pursue the path of permanent peace. For far too long, these countries have waged war, brother against brother. We should put an end to that. Okay? And in an effort to show good faith that we are following through on this agenda, we are going to de-escalate our military exercises in the Korean Peninsula. If I was a Democratic president, that's what I would say. In exchange for this goodwill gesture, we hope that the Democratic People's Republic of Korea will also reduce their missile launches in the region. Normal and healthy society where the national security minister says, yeah, we'll let you fucking personally murder people with your bare hands. Great stuff.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel.
Ooh, Noah Samson. Asmongold loves genocide. Noah Samson with a new video. I believe the original title of this video was How Asmongold Sells You Genocide or something like that. This guy's not a Twitch streamer. He's the national security minister in the Israeli government, which would fall apart without his party's support. This isn't a comment from years ago. He makes blood-curdling statements like this every 2 days. Yet American policymakers continue to fund this government. In any sane world, such an association should be a political career killer. Yet where does our media spend its time when it comes to policing associations? Yeah. Ben-Gvir presented that they're constructing purpose-made gallows for Palestinian prisoners. They already built the death row wing in the prison, and now they're building execution sites. But American advocates for Israel will still say Ben-Gvir does not represent the state of Israel. I know. That's what the American Jewish Committee said. Which was such an insane lie that the National Security Minister, part of the War Cabinet, part of Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition in the Otzma Yehudit Party, Jewish Power Party, of course, is not a part of the Israeli government or not representative of the Israeli government's attitude is so crazy to me. And it was so insane that Barak Ravid replied to AJC and was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know if you guys saw that. Like, fucking Barak Ravid was like, dude, no. Ben-Gvir definitely is a part of the fucking... Yeah, see, look. American Jewish Committee. AJC vehemently rejects the continued inflammatory statements made by Itamar Ben-Gvir. His calls for Jewish settlement in Gaza and the so-called voluntary immigration of Palestinians are irresponsible and disconnected from reality. Ben-Gvir's statement do not reflect the policy of the state of Israel. It should be condemned by all who care about Israel's future. Barak Ravid responded with, I'm not sure you are aware of the policies of the current Israeli government. To say Ben-Gvir doesn't represent the policy is not accurate, to say the least. Yeah, he's just the fucking head of national security, man. You know, he's just the head of national security. It's a small bean Israel's small bean head of national security. He's irrelevant, dude. Really. Anyway, let's watch Noah Samson.
Gold, the streamer, responded to the video I made a little while ago called Asmongold's Terrorist Propaganda.
An individual made a video about me. His name is Noah Samson. The video is called Asmongold's Terrorist Propaganda.
And it was interesting because his response was to agree with the point of the video, that he supports terrorism as long as it's the US and Israel doing it. Terrorism is okay when we do it, but when they...
Yes, that's correct. That's absolutely correct.
But to Asmongold, there's no double standard here because he has different values, and these values rely on a hierarchy of human rights.
There's not a double standard. There's just a misunderstanding of my value system. My value system works like this. American interests are my primary concern. Western interests are my secondary concern. And I would say harmonious world interests are my third concern.
We are human, and they are not. To quote Asmongold himself, it's really that simple.
It's that simple. Yes, that's correct.
And that's fairly straightforward, right? If you view some groups as less human than others, then you won't care if they get killed or genocided. Under his moral framework, this all makes sense. But if this is his position, then why does he have to lie? See, in his reaction stream, Asmongold tells a bunch of lies. He misrepresents sources, he denies facts, he ignores evidence, all in order to deny that Israel and the United States are doing terrorism, that they're killing civilians.
Yeah, the argument is simple. If Asmongold truly believed the idea that like Iranians are inferior beings, they're, it's worthwhile to kill them, and he has no issues with America doing terrorism to Iran, then he would not turn around and lie and be like, oh, well, I think Iran blew up its own school. He'd just say, no, America blew up the school and it was good.
Committing genocide, starting wars of aggression, which is odd, right? Because if he's okay with U.S.-Israeli terrorism,
that's absolutely correct,
then he shouldn't need to lie about these things. So let's just look at some examples of what I mean, right? So in my video, I brought up the Manab Elementary School bombing. On the first day of the war, the U.S. bombed an elementary school and killed over 150 people. The vast majority of them were children and teachers. And in response, Asmongold blamed Iran. In the first week of the war, the United States blew up an Iranian elementary school, killing 156 people.
I think Iran blew it up themselves, in my opinion. I don't think it was us. I think Iran blew it up themselves. They have no problem martyring their own people, and I wouldn't put it past them.
We've known since basically the week that this happened that it was the United States. They used Tomahawk missiles. There's visual and fragment evidence.
Speaking to weapons analysts, they identified this missile as a Tomahawk missile, and only the US in that war was using Tomahawk missiles.
And every subsequent investigation on the issue has shown that it was the United States. From the New York Times, from Sky News, from Amnesty International, from Forensic Architecture, from the US government officials themselves. The claim that Iran was responsible originates from some monarchist telegram groups that pushed misinformation about this happening, and then that was boosted by a bunch of pro-Israel social media circles. But these were quickly debunked.
This telegram account has no link to Iranian authorities. It is an opposition outlet that is well known for mixing information and satire.
And that was 4 months ago. So either Asmongold saw this 4 months ago and then did not encounter a single piece of information since about what happened, or he has, and he's not telling the truth. Who knows? It could be either. Let's look at some more examples. In my video, I compared Israel's ceasefire violations with Hezbollah's. During the so-called ceasefire in Lebanon, Israel had committed over 10,000 violations, while Hezbollah on the other side had fired only 4 rockets. But Asmongold still manages to defend Israel here for an amazing reason. Where Israel committed literally 10,000 violations, Hezbollah fired a total of 4 rockets. But for him, that's a valid reason to promote the IDF's destruction of
I think flying over something is not as bad as shooting a rocket. I think shooting a bomb at somebody is worse than flying an airplane.
So what does Israel use to drop its bombs? Uses planes. Does he think the 10,000 violations were just people flying around doing nothing? For no reason? They were bombing Lebanon thousands of times. They killed nearly 400 people.
We saw a barrage of IDF missiles fired across Lebanon. This was the heaviest bombardment of the conflict so far.
Again, does he actually just not know that Israel uses its planes for bombing, or is there another explanation? In my video, I brought up a report from the IAEA in 2018, which showed that Iran was abiding by the terms of the nuclear deal when the United States just pulled out. The point being that Asmongold's definition of terrorism included being untrustworthy in negotiations.
They can't be allowed to be trusted. They've already broken too many deals before. They've lied too many times.
That's what the U.S. was doing here, so they're the terrorists. Pretty simple point, you'd think. Despite observations from independent experts that Iran was abiding by the terms of the agreement, it was the...
Why are you citing the IAEA whenever... This is what he was just citing here. Why would you cite the IAEA whenever the IAEA also detected that Iran had uranium that was enriched at 60%? When the enrichment that you need for power is only 3 to 5%.
Yeah, that was after Trump destroyed the agreement. Does Osmond have motion? I mean, there's a lot of stupid people out there. It is pretty cute watching him try to like talk about. It's pretty cute watching him talk about politics though, because he is so fucking dumb. Like, he is so unbearably stupid. He just doesn't know anything. But he does this like smug, know-it-all voice that he puts on where he's like, yeah, why would you bring up the IAEA? Yeah. Lol, the IAEA found that Iran was enriching uranium well beyond the civilian limit. Do you not have object permanence? Do you not know how time works? Yes. The International Atomic Energy Agency openly stated that Iran was cooperating with the agreement, the JCPOA agreement, well after Donald Trump said that he was ending the agreement for no reason. They only went back to enriching nuclear-grade uranium beyond the civilian usage when Trump added secondary sanctions. What a stupid argument.
That's exactly what the 2018 report found. Throughout the reporting period, Iran's total enriched uranium stockpile has not exceeded 300 kilograms, enriched up to 3.67%. The figure he's referring to of 60% didn't occur until years after the US withdrew from the nuclear deal. And if you're thinking, okay, maybe he's just confused or wrongfully throwing out the IAEA as a source when the figures disagree with him, he is lying here because someone in his chat calls him out. They point out that the report I'm citing is from 2018. And he reads the chat, ignores it, and moves on.
Your own sources show that you're wrong. That's it. Like, I mean, this is insane. Like, what are we doing? 2018, yes.
Of the agreement, it was the United States who randomly decided to pull out. So this sort of strange, confused lying thing isn't the only tactic he uses to pretend that the US and Israel aren't terrorists. Another one of his moves is just straight up propaganda, like Netanyahu speech IDF spokesman style propaganda. And with this one, he really plays the hits, you know, human shields.
They want to use these people as human shields, get people killed for international clout.
When they use civilians as human shields, they're the ones who are responsible.
They use the...
Yeah. Asmongoy, APAC mold, you know, whatever you want to call it.
Lebanese people as human shields while they fire rockets from apartment buildings into Israel.
Hezbollah has been using you as human shields. It placed rockets in your living rooms and missiles in your garage.
Using innocent people as human shields.
To the civilians that Hamas has forced into the role of human shields.
The reason why they're firing rockets from residential areas is so they can martyr these people.
While we take extensive measures to minimize civilian casualties, Hamas makes every effort to maximize them.
Human shields.
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 Israel has the right to defend itself.
He frames everything as if this is just a random attack. This is just randomly happening. It's happening because Israel is getting bombed. They're shooting missiles over to Israel.
These are his go-to responses for any time I put evidence of Israeli war crimes or genocidal actions on the screen. Every single example automatically.
Yeah, maybe he really loves Israel because he looks like the hilltop youth in the West Bank. That could be the reason. I never really thought about that. He sees the West Bank settlers and he's like, yeah, those guys, I mean, they look a lot like me, chat. Yeah. Look, it's going to be hard for me to act like these handsome gentlemen are on the wrong side of history.
It's a canned response. He has no evidence for any of them. So like I show an example of an apartment block that Israel completely destroyed in late October in the Jabalia refugee camp in Gaza. Over 120 people were killed, the vast majority of them women and children. And Asmongold's response is to defend it automatically without even knowing what happened. Doing in Gaza is killing entire families by leveling apartment blocks, killing toddlers.
And stop shooting rockets from apartment buildings.
The IDF itself didn't even mention rocket fire. Like, he's going above and beyond to lie for Israel. And he ends up doing...
Dude, outflanking Israeli Hasbara is crazy. Like, those guys hit the maximum lines anyway. Asmongold is so aggressively pro-Israel that he outflanks the Israeli government when he's making shit up.
Doing the same thing over top of a screenshot of a news story about Hind Rajab, the toddler that Israeli soldiers murdered with her whole family and denied them medical assistance. And then when they did grant it, they murdered the medical workers.
6-year-old Hind Rajab climbed.
Bro, okay, that's cooked. Yeah. Yeah. Beast. I'm downloading that shit, bro. That's crazy. That's so perfect. Jesus Christ, that's so perfect.
Into a car with her aunt, her uncle, and her cousins in Gaza City as they prepared to flee to the southern part of Gaza. But as they were in the car, an Israeli tank approached them and opened fire. Hind's 15-year-old cousin, Leon, called the Red Crescent for help. These were her last words recorded on the call with a Red Crescent dispatcher.
Hello?
Hello, dear.
They are shooting at us.
Hello?
They are shooting at us. The tank is next to me.
Are you hiding?
Yes, in the car. We're next to the tank.
Are you inside the car? Hello? Hello?
That was 15-year-old Leon's last words, killed along with the rest of her family. The only one who remained alive was 6-year-old Hind. Wounded, she called the Red Crescent back, pleading with the dispatcher to be rescued.
Come take me. You will come and take me?
Do you want me to come and take you?
I'm so scared. Please come. Please call someone to come and take me.
Okay, dear. I will come and take you.
After seeking approval from the Israeli military, 2 emergency workers with the Palestine Red Crescent, Yusuf Seno and Ahmed Almadoun, went to try to rescue 6-year-old Hind.
It killed
But
them too.
dispatchers lost contact with the medics. Nearly 2 weeks later, Israeli forces finally withdrew from the area, and on Saturday, Hind's surviving family ventured back to the neighborhood. They found Hind dead inside the car, alongside the bodies of 5 of her family members. The car was riddled with bullet holes. The bodies of the 2 emergency workers were also found in an ambulance nearby, appeared to have been killed by Israeli fire just yards away from the car.
While this story is on the screen, he's talking about some rocket fire. It's very jarring to watch.
Stop shooting rockets from apartment buildings.
In some cases, he goes above and beyond typical Israeli propaganda claims. So to downplay the civilian death toll in Gaza, he argues that they're...
By the way, tomorrow, speaking of which, tomorrow I'm going to have Feroz and Tyre on from American Doctor. This was the Hind Rajab story you guys know about, of course. And Voice of Hind Rajab, I think, does a really good job of portraying the harrowing events, the hours that take place. But there's another movie coming out called American Doctor, a documentary. And it's going to be released in the United States and Canada in select theaters. It's up for a bunch of awards as well. American Doctor follows the story of 3 different American doctors that go to Gaza and work under the crosshairs. It was released a few days ago. Yeah. I didn't realize it was released already, but and I've had Feroz on this broadcast before. You guys remember I interviewed him after he came back, and he's going to be in the building once again, but this time with Tyre as well. Tyre is Palestinian. Feroz is Zoroastrian, and Perlmutter is the 3rd doctor who's Jewish. And it shows you 3 very different perspectives of American medical professionals. Like one guy who's not really connected to Palestine in any meaningful way, Feroz, right? And then one guy who is Palestinian himself. It shows the issues that the Israeli government put up in front of him to even go there as an American doctor. And Perlmutter is Jewish. and he grew up as a Zionist, right? And he gets to see like Israel's violence and Israel's genocide as he's sewing together Israel's victims of genocide, these children, and he has to come to terms with what his social conditioning looked like in real time. So it's a very powerful documentary. They obviously take their experiences from Gaza back to the United States of America to try to raise awareness about Israel's siege, Israel's genocide. They also try to, demand legislative action. It doesn't really work, but it shows that component as well. But yeah, I will be interviewing Tyre and Feroz tomorrow. And yeah. It's out in select theaters in the United States and Canada.
Being overreported because Hamas kills journalists that report military casualties. The vast majority of the people that Israel has killed in Gaza have been civilians. That is the conclusion of every independent expert. The only ones...
Because any people that go over there have to be pressured by the terrorists, because if they don't repeat the terrorist propaganda, the terrorists kill them. That's the reason why.
And this one's just...
Sometimes he's like coming up with it in real time. This is one of those moments. Like he just made that up on the spot, and you can tell he made that shit up on the spot because like at least when he's like doing Hasbara that even Israel is not doing, it's usually hearkening back to Hasbara from a different incident that he's heard that he's repeating. But this one he just made up on the spot. Like he mixed and matched a little bit where he was like, the Israeli propaganda on this is Hamas at gunpoint is forcing these children to stay in the vicinity of the bombs, right? Or Hamas at gunpoint is forcing little babies to lay down next to their artillery, their weapon systems. He fucked it up and he said, "Oh well, Hamas kills them if they don't say that they love Palestine." Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Bizarre, because, like, obviously, no one needs to make anything up to prove civilian casualties. There's thousands upon thousands of videos and photos. But journalists aren't even the one that tally death tolls. That's the health ministries in Gaza and Lebanon. That's the usual line of attack for Israel propagandists, is to say they're not trustworthy, even though they are, based on independent observers. And the Israeli military itself has accepted their...
By the way, did you know you're in the American Doctor movie? Yes. I'm in it as well. I forgot to mention that. Why do you allow people to restream your stream on YouTube? Isn't that siphoning viewers from your Twitch? There are 4 YouTube channels restreaming with thousands of live viewers every day. They had like 10K live viewers combined during Wisconsin election night. Their mods are even encouraging people not to watch you on Twitch. Makes no sense that you stop dual streaming to not ruin your Twitch viewership only for some randoms to restream and grow fast. Tell the mods which rebroadcasters are saying like don't watch it on Twitch, watch it here instead, and we'll clap those. But overall, I don't really care. Yeah, I want this message to be spread far and wide. So correct, it's 4 doctors, all the ones you mentioned plus Dr. Jihad. That's crazy.
Figures, but the ministries are typically what people attack. This is something completely different and off the wall, and I've never seen it actually happen. He doesn't cite a single source in this video, but he does allude to a source, and it's for this claim about journalists being killed by Hamas, which is a 10-year-old expose about the Associated Press. It was written by a former IDF soldier and at the time AP journalist.
And this is actually exposed by a person coming out of the Associated Press about 15 years ago. But for some reason, people just keep eating it up and assuming that everything that they're saying is completely true.
But even that article written by the former IDF soldier doesn't say that. It talks about a handful of instances of journalist intimidation, but not a single instance of actual violence, let alone killing. And then he moves from this claim, where he's pretending to care about journalist freedom, to say that, well, actually, all the journalists in Gaza are Hamas, so you can kill them anyways, I don't care. Targeting men, women, children, journalists, health.
Of course. They're not journalists, by the way. Half of their journalists have pictures pictures of them fighting and shooting an AK-47. The entire idea that, oh, yeah, Israel's killing these journalists. Remember the other Hamas journalist that, like, he gets killed and then there's, like...
Not only is that not true, but even if it was, it still wouldn't change the reality that Israel is assassinating journalists. Every single Israeli journalist that is not only embedding with the IDF and therefore are a part of the military formation, but every single and could be accidentally collateralized. Every single Israeli journalist has served in the IDF. Do his fans even like this? Terminally online chuds don't like Israel anymore either? Dog. What is the only place on the planet right now where the right-wing chuds are unconditionally pro-Israel? Not America. Yep. You're getting it. Yep. It's fucking Euroids, man. That's why. His audience of terminally online chuds are not terminally online chuds from America, because the terminally online chuds in America don't fuck with this kind of commentary. Many of the terminally online right-wingers that are in our age bracket are insanely anti-Israel. And not only are they anti-Israel, they're anti-Semitic. There's only one group of people on this planet that consistently LARP as though they're American MAGA supporters who are also pro-Israel. Those people are in Europe. Of course, the broad subsects of European society also don't fuck with Israel either. However, the only area where there is any kind of like right-wing support for Israel is Europe. Yes, Nigeria is another one, and India is another one as well. But Asmongold's audience mostly is Euroids. They're Euroid MAGA LARPers.
5 videos of him shooting an AK-47. You guys have no idea how deep this terrorist propaganda goes.
These justifications are only coherent if your one principle is defending Israel. When he can't deny the facts by just lying about them or misrepresenting sources, and when he can't deflect with Israeli propaganda lies, he just folds. He doesn't even try to respond or defend himself. He'll either scoff and roll his eyes, shooting babies in the head with snipers while they're being breastfed by their mothers alone in tents in broad daylight. The vast majority of the people that Israel has killed in Gaza have been civilians. That is the conclusion of every independent expert. Or sit there in silence while facts are being displayed on the screen that challenge his worldview. On March 12th, 2026, Israel bombed a beachside tent encampment housing people that they had displaced from their bombings, killing 8 and wounding 31. The strike came in the middle of...
I met a Euro-Magaloid. I love that. Euro-Magaloid. That is awesome. Euro-Magaloid on Xbox, and it genuinely bricked my brain after I said, let's take away your healthcare. Their tune changed very quickly. A lot of people don't realize how much of the prominent, outspoken base for American fascism, its most loyal servants, are literally not in America. Because you might be wondering, like, who the fuck are these people? Where are they in America? I rarely ever meet like an outspoken Trump supporter. I mean, even in red states, like there's a level of shame in supporting Trump right now. Where are these guys? They're all over the internet. Why are they not in the real world? Maybe you falsely believe that it's because they're always online and they're never outside. There's some truth to that, certainly. But first of all, most of the American Groyper contingency is unbelievably diverse. They're not white. Okay, so there's that element. And the entirety of them, the entirety of the American Groyper movement that actually has a job is a Republican staffer. So that's basically the limit to the American fascist movement. And they're not pro-Israel at all, right? They're anti-Israel. However, if you were to go on the internet and say something like, I think America should no longer support Israel, you'll be met with a barrage of attacks in your replies, sometimes from bot accounts, sometimes from accounts that sound like bots. And if you were to think that those accounts are actually American, you'd be wrong. These are European MAGA supporters. Euro Magaloids.
The night, and it was a double tap strike. The first missile landed and killed 3 people near the beach, and when people approached to help the victims, the second missile landed. No evacuation warning was issued. This was in a safe zone. Before Hezbollah existed, Israel invaded Lebanon, killed tens of thousands of people, the vast majority of whom were women and children, directly facilitated the slaughter and rape of thousands of civilians in the Sabra and Shatila massacre, a massacre the United Nations General Assembly declared an act of genocide. Hezbollah was formed in response to this genocidal invasion as a group resisting it, fighting to get Israel out of their country. And that's exactly what they did. Or he'll feign disinterest, he'll pretend that he doesn't care about Israel.
I don't really care what Israel is doing because Israel isn't the one that are blowing up our trade ships and disrupting trade in the Strait of Hormuz. I have no interest in what Israel is doing or not. What Israel does with Iran or with Lebanon or with Gaza, that is their purview.
Even though he spent the previous hour, defending it, using all its propaganda talking points.
Human shields.
Or history. History is a big one. He doesn't care about it. When that history shows examples of past Israeli aggression.
All of this historical babble, all of this bullshit means literally nothing to me. I don't care.
How do you think Asman maintains such a consistent stream of vetted propaganda lines? Twitter. Twitter and his subreddit. He's completely captive. If his subreddit overnight turned into a pro-communist subreddit, Asmongold accidentally would become a communist the next day. I think that's mostly what it is. I don't know if he's getting paid to do this, right? Israel obviously does pay a lot. We know that already. But he doesn't have he doesn't have any personal investment in this at all. He's just straight up repeating whatever the fuck people are saying on his subreddit. He's a right-wing grifter through and through. What's the point? Not like he spends the money. He likes it. It's like a video game. And it's not just about the money, although he does care about that, certainly. It's the recognition. It's the admiration. He loves feeling as though he matters. He wants the admiration. He loves the big numbers. He doesn't have a real political project. That's why he fucking endorsed James Fishback, right? It's just ridiculous. He doesn't give a shit about anything. He just likes being relevant. And as long as he is, speaking this bullshit, there are plenty of Euro Magaloids who will feed him talking points. They'll praise him. They'll act as though he is God himself. His political movement is non-existent in the United States of America. It's just non-existent. Yeah, if WoW gave him views, he'd go back to that. That's it. A federal judge ordered a secret review of what prosecutors told the grand jury in the case against Don Lemon amid a growing pattern of alleged grand jury misconduct and irregularities in Trump DOJ cases. Nice.
What happened in 1950? I don't care what happened in 1970.
But when he wants to defend current Israeli aggression, then he does care about history all of a sudden.
Look at Lebanon in the 60s. It was a great place. Lebanon has the potential to prosper and be a great country. They can't do that if they have Hezbollah in their country.
Or their genocidal bombing campaign in Gaza, which he compares favorably to Dresden.
Remember we dropped a firebomb on Dresden when we burned thousands of people alive? Shouldn't have fucked around.
Or there's a concern trolling where he says, no, I don't care about the people in these places. I just care about Americans. But also, I actually care the most about the people in these places.
The people that are in these countries suffer the most from it. They are the ones that suffer from it more than anybody else.
I mean, I'm really glad that Noah went through the process of actually listening to Asmongold continuously for an hour. I've never done this, so I never really realized how much he contradicts himself in the same exact reaction. But what's unbelievable to me is that the people that are listening to him I guess this is a common trait with Trump supporters in general. I guess even if they're Euromagaloids or if they're Ameroid MAGA Trump supporters, is that they don't recognize when Donald Trump nor Asmongold is contradicting themselves in the same breath. It's cattle. It's unbelievably low IQ. There's no object permanence whatsoever. Like I've said before, I mean, racism is low IQ, 100%. It's low IQ cope. The idea that like you and others like you from your race are superior to other races that are inferior is just low IQ cope. Right? That's what's going on here.
More than Israelis, more than Americans, more than anybody else, they are the ones that are truly being terrorized and terrified by these evil people. And I think that's the saddest thing about it.
And on top of all these tactics, right, the lying, the propagandizing, the retreating, you have the biggest lie, which is that all of these things are within the interests of American citizens.
But fundamentally, as an American, I have to advocate for American interests. I simply have a tier list of the people whose best interests I keep in mind. At the top of that tier list ranks American civilians, American citizens.
That's right, American citizens. It is within your interest to pay a bunch of money for gas and pay over $1,000 per family due to a destabilized global economy and send $100 billion of taxpayer money to kill children overseas instead of helping children here and having troops get vaporized. There is nothing Americans love more than all of these things. And the reason they love it, right? The reason you love it is because it's a trade-off we are willing to make for the ultimate goal of killing terrorism.
I think that we need to remove the IRGC and we need to completely dismantle them in all facets and all facilities. Islamic terrorism is an existential threat across the Middle East and also globally the world.
Yeah, and how's that going, man? Have you checked the news lately? You wanted regime change? Oh, looks like you couldn't get it. You wanted to open the Strait of Hormuz? Oh, looks like that couldn't happen either.
Iran again.
Strait's still closed, by the way. Strait's still closed, by the way.
Insisted it will keep the Strait of Hormuz closed until the U.S. meets a sweeping list of demands.
The nuclear deal that you blew up to try and get a better one? The latest terms not looking so hot.
Now that we have the text, it is materially weaker than President Obama's JCPOA for the United States.
The Iranians put forward a new proposal, which is actually quite remarkable. What they say in that proposal is that...
By the way, I have damn near official confirmation that Goatsheimer doesn't fuck with me. Pretty much. Okay. Someone who is in constant correspondence with them asked about us collabing, and he did not respond to that person who otherwise he responds to all the time. I have no idea why. He does not fuck with me. He's still my goat. He's still my goat. Okay? It's fine. It's okay. We are no longer firm and committed believers of offensive realism. Okay? That's right. I am a NATO Atlanticist now. You did this. You did this, Mersheimer. You made me a NATO Atlanticist. You did this. You're controversial? What? Are you kidding me? He's probably one of the most controversial academics in the country. What are you talking about? You're controversial. First of all, he is unironically like as close as you can get to being pro-Russia without being pro-Russia, I guess. Like he goes above and beyond on the Russia stuff that even I'm like, okay, this is a little bit crazy.
Every one of the issues, except the nuclear issue, has to be settled up front, which is another way of saying the United States has to concede on every one.
Yeah, he might not fuck with me because I shit on Russia too much. I guess I have to go on Judge Napolitano. Right? He loves the judge. He loves the good judge. That's the good judge. The bad judge is Judge Janine. The good judge is Judge, is it Napolitano, however you say his name? I love those boomer shows, man. I sincerely watch them all the fucking time. It's so funny to me that like Judge Napolitano who I think also used to be a Fox News guy. If I'm not mistaken, he's awesome. Every episode he shills gold. Yeah, no, it's awesome. Mersheimer loves going on that show. Okay? He loves going on that show.
Of the 10 issues that I described before. We're not only talking now about lifting oil sanctions, we're talking about lifting all sanctions.
That's fine, no big deal. It's not like we depleted our missile stockpiles, conceded sanctions relief, and reconstruction.
Yep, he got canceled on Fox News because the usual reason men get canceled on Fox News. Wait, what? That's what Judge Napolitano got canceled for? He did a sexual harassment? Yeah, Glenn Deason, Judge Napolitano. Who else? There's that, I think, Australian guy, the Deason verse. It's so funny. This is what I like to call the Bricks Unks, okay? Broadly speaking. I like to call them the Bricks Unks. And then there's that one guy with the drone as his logo. That's another one. Yeah, Tom Schweizer. Yeah, Tom Schweizer is the one guy. Who's the Unk? Who is the Bricks Unk with the drone as his logo? There's so many. Yeah, let's be real, it's the Russia Today Unks. Yes. Daniel Davis. Yeah, I think that's, wait, is that, no. Oh yeah, this is the guy.
Welcome
See?
back, everyone.
Both of my goats are together. Glenn Deason. It's the Deason verse. This is the MCU for autistic foreign policy enjoyers, okay? Yeah, that's the guy with the drone logo. He's another one of those guys. Yeah, many of them have had Russia Today shows. I love these guys so much. I watch them all the time. The Neo Cranks. Sometimes they say insane shit. Sometimes they say insane stuff, for sure. But I love all of the Bricks Unks. You got Chris Hedges. Maybe Hedges can help get an in with the Neo Cranks. My Trotskyist friend loves these guys. They always say insane stuff. No. If you watch them in like short bursts, they're fine. If you watch them, it's kind of like with Nick Fuentes, you know what I mean? Like, you know how Nick Fuentes' fans can present him as like a reasonable figure at times if they just clip it the right amount? Like, just don't go beyond like the 2-minute line. If you go beyond the 2-minute line, he just sounds like a fucking boomer who's like, oh, they're trying to eradicate the white race. It's the inverse Hasanabi clip theory. Exactly. It's the same with Professor Jung. It's the same with a lot of these guys. If you listen to them in like 2 to 3 minute bursts, they're great. You're like, wow, this guy seems to know his shit. Okay. But if you watch the 4th minute of those clips, you'll be like, oh my God, what the fuck did he just say? That's how it works for many of these guys. Between this and the lusotropicalism thing the other day, man, you've been getting esoteric as fuck lately? No. Some of these guys are definitely pro-Russia, by the way, like openly so. I don't even know why they're like that. Yeah, Bricksunks, Scott Ritter is a great example. Scott Ritter literally lives in Russia. I think he has a pedophilia case here in the United States of America, if I'm not mistaken. Some of them straight up push Z. Like I don't know where or how they arrived at those conclusions, but they are straight up pushing Z. Yeah, Scott Ritter, wait, doesn't Scott Ritter live in Russia? Scott lives in New York. What law? Wait, I thought he lived in Russia. Well, I guess he goes to Russia a lot, so that's why I thought he lived in Russia. Goatsheimer doesn't respect you because you had Dr. Jung on the broadcast. Slander is wild. Wait, doesn't Scott Ritter have like a charge like that? Am I crazy? Am I just slandering him? Wasn't he like a weapons inspector back in the day? I think he was in the Department of Defense. And then, you know, he's got some weird shit going on. Yeah, former UN's weapons inspector convicted in sex case, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Jurors in Monroe County convicted 49-year-old Scott Ritter of Del Mar, New York on 6 of 7 counts. 6-7. He was acquitted on a criminal attempt charge. Ritter exchanged explicit messages with a detective posing as an underage girl and masturbated even after the undercover officer stressed during the chat that he was a minor, prosecutors said. Yeah. He has 2 pedo charges. He was awaiting trial for 1 pedo crime and committed another one. Jesus Christ. Holy shit. Anyway. How do you know all this? I just know everything, man. What do you mean? It's because I've lost formative memories. The first pedo that isn't pro-Israel? Yeah. Yeah, true. True. I never thought about it like that. So, yeah, if you were to ask me, like, my first kiss, like, I've lost it. It's gone. I had to download this shit into my brain instead. I had to download the Glenn Deason verse into my brain. Scott Ritter Lore, he worked for Richard Butler for UNSCOM, the UN WMD inspectors for Iraq. Ritter was the one who confirmed that the CIA had infiltrated UNSCOM, confirming Saddam Hussein's claims that UNSCOM was being used by the U.S. to spy on Iraq. But yeah. I'm just so blown away by how quickly the Republican Party just accepted. None of these guys are Republican. For the record. Scott Ritter is not a Republican. These guys are like, to varying degrees, I wouldn't even say some of them are pro-America. If we're being honest. Like, some of these guys really love Russia. Like, they really do. Look, I get hit with that all the time. People say I'm pro-Russia all the fucking time. But some of these dudes are actually pro-Russia, like, genuinely. You know what I mean? Which is fine. I mean, look, everybody's pro-Ukraine around these parts. Might as well make it more interesting, I guess. I don't fucking know. Scott voted for Trump 3 times. That makes total sense. Wait, he's one of those guys who's like, Trump is going to destroy the deep state, right? That's why he voted for Trump, right? Oh, that's awesome. Of course he did. What a weird thing to say. I'm just fucking around, dude. Can we admit this is a weird tangent? Yeah.
Construction money and weakened the American empire in humiliating fashion. Mission accomplished, chat. Thank you for your service. Okay, so anyways, we return to that question of why. If he says he's okay with killing civilians, then why is he lying and pretending like he's not? If he says he's okay with the US acting like a rogue state, why is he lying and pretending it's not? Even when that belligerence is directly harming everyone in the world except like a few billionaire pedophiles and weapons manufacturers. And I think there's a few reasons, right? I think it's preaching to the choir. If you go to these videos, you'll see a bunch of comments talking about how awesome Asmongold is for defending America's right to go out and kill terrorists. The choir is in on the
Wait, what the fuck is this? Bro, wait, what happened to the chat? We just lost chat completely. What is going on? Is everything okay?
Damn, this guy's good.